Great.
Excuse me. Glad to hear it.
Terry, did Kim respond to you from Friday? Did Kim respond to you from Friday?
She asked me for the exact word, for the truly element that day, on the exact word, she would do that for the insurance. And I told her, yes, it's really not that, because insurance is, you know, very interesting, it lasts for 6 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I meant to ask you that. So they told you 2 days ago, but the only fun day has
Got
in my life. As usual.
You know that.
Not yet.
I have music stuck in my head. That bad button stuck in my head. Because I listened to it today at work. Excuse me. Those are open. Just sit there if you want.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
I wasn't sure.
Oh, no.
Okay, that works.
I like a lot of space.
That works too.
kidding.
These chairs.
I suppose I should move down one, and then someone comes in and can sit. Here. There we go.
You ready for that?
Yeah.
This is what I'm getting when I try to open it.
Oh, okay.
What
I'll
does
try to
that mean?
reset. File must be broken. I'll look at it.
Okay,
So.
I thought it was me.
No,
Before
no,
it's me, I'll try to open it for
No, I had a hard time opening it on the email, the preview, something's wrong with
you.
it.
Some PDFs aren't Adobe PDFs per se, and.
I'm using their program,
Yeah.
something, I think it's
Which
just,
email would you like it
Do my
I
raw
don't think it's
sift,
gonna
yeah,
open, I'm telling you.
just to try it. What's up?
It's not gonna open, I'm telling you, I couldn't open it on my email. I have to re-export it from InDesign.
Kelly has a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was waiting for you to finish.
What's up?
At the fairgrounds, I bring my own tables, or do they have some already there that we can?
I have a table for you and a tent for you. The only thing you're gonna need to bring is your wares, not your underwear, your wares. Well, bring your underwear.
Oh, yeah, it's in.
in. Bring,
Probably over.
chairs. if you have
Oh,
them.
I can do that, yeah, oh,
Okay,
that's
and
great, thank you.
You're gonna come into through gate 1, that's gonna be the vendor gate,
Uh-huh,
and you can park right on the grounds.
perfect,
Okay.
thanks, yep.
This is my life.
Is that the
Tell your
gate
husband to start
by your
worrying
house?
about me.
Is that the gate by your house?
Which one's one? It's on the, yeah, it's on the
Oh.
Prospect.
Tell
I
him
know
to
where
start
it is.
worrying about me.
curb. I'll find it.
Does that say Chelsea? Can't read that. Can you read?
I'll turn it to Michelle.
Huh?
Michelle.
Kristen Kate, how are you?
That's right.
Your dog.
little markers.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah,
they
they
can-
have, like, already signed up.
Yeah. So you're gonna put the big ones there. Yeah, so you're gonna get marked out there.
You didn't include the actual attachment.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I have to re-export it, guys.
Well, she didn't send the file, so I can't sign it.
No, official.
I can't imagine anyone else coming
Yes, I need to ask me to put it over.
Yeah, the file's broken. I'm gonna
Okay.
re-export it.
I said I brought a sweater because the last time I got
Nicole.
blown out.
Huh?
Fire that baby up. No.
She has more internet here than she does at work.
Huh?
She'd have more internet here than she has at work currently.
Yeah, that happened.
She's gonna have problems last 2 weeks over there. The construction apparently it's just been a great nap.
I feel like we need an icebreaker. There's so many of us in here. Sitting very closely.
Then you got pledge drinks. For those wondering, it's over my left shoulder today. And please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance being led by Ray Otten.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the first ordinary meeting of the Village Board of Trustees for the Village of Ballston Spa, August 11, 2025, for the month of August, I should say. Let us go to minutes. We have two sets to approve. Can I get a motion that the minutes of the July 21st, 2025 special meeting / workshop be approved?
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Fandesa. Second. Trustee Raymond, discussion.
My only comment is, it neglects to mention my objection to the 1 hour rush time frame of that meeting. And also the fact that Mayor Rossi, as of that meeting, still had not shared any comments with the board to help us prepare for that meeting. I think if I had not submitted comments and Frank had mentioned that, that would be in the minutes. So those things should be in the minutes.
Is the motion?
No,
Okay.
there's video.
So, as.
Well, that doesn't mean the minutes shouldn't be accurate.
It's on video.
All in favor of the original motion?
Aye.
I'll abstain for those reasons.
Sean, are you and I on that?
Aye.
Thank you. Opposed? Abstention? We'll note it was Trustee Baskin. The motion's approved. Can I get a motion that the minutes of the July 28th, 2025 meeting be approved?
I'll make the motion.
Trustee
I'll
Baskin?
second.
Trustee Fandesa? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. No presentations tonight. Two walk-on motions that you can discuss during your public comment and agenda items only coming up next. First up will be a $12,500 proposal by Delaware Engineering related to work to devise the concept plan / needs assessment for the DPW garage replacement. Also to have legal review before we get signed by the mayor. And then the following motion, I'll just read in its entirety. A motion that the Village of Ballston Spa DPW be authorized to get tree work done on all the trees between Prospect Street and East High Street by Earth Care Plus for a total not to exceed $5,000. This work includes removal, trimming, and stump grinding. So you can comment on those during your public comment on agenda items only, which is 3 minutes per speaker. If you're on Zoom, now would be a great time to raise your hand if you'd like to speak to one of the motions that will be made tonight. And anybody in the room want to give comment on those motions? I see Charlene actually go. Jen, if you can.
So Charlene DeBute, 6 Canadian Drive. All right, so my son just got back from a 3-week trip to Israel.
Let's pull the door so that she's visible in the one way or the other. Sorry about that, Charlene. Not counting against your time.
And so,
Other way, then pull closer. Go closer.
Yeah.
Sorry. There we
Okay,
go. Thank you.
so as I was saying, he just got back from a 3-week trip to Israel. And on Instagram a few days ago, he wrote, "During my trip, we went to the south for a day and visited some communities that were directly impacted by October 7th. We went to where the Nova Festival was held, which was a big music festival targeted by Hamas during October 7th. There, Mazal, one of the Nova survivors, came and shared her story. The whole experience was eye-opening to say the least. I knew of the atrocities that happened before I went to Israel, but I feel like it was much more impactful actually stepping foot in these communities where they took place and hearing from the people who had experienced the horrors, like Mazal. And in fact, just a day after he visited these sites, he called me from Israel to talk about his experience. And he said to me, and I'm never gonna forget this, he said, "The victims were just numbers to me. I thought I got it before, but now it's real." This is a 15-year-old child. And some of you are probably judging a bit. Why did I send my 15-year-old son to Israel? Why should he experience these kinds of things? It's because we have to. We can't afford not to. So what some of you taunt as free Gaza or ceasefire now, those are just luxury ideas. They scream of privilege and entitlement, a slogan that you can remove and change up at will. But this isn't a game to some of us. And I can assure you what happens in Israel affects Jews here in the US, and that's why I'm talking about this right now. So the FBI just reported that 68% of all reported religion-based crimes against Jews, a small minority in this country. And since October 7th, there have been over 10,000 anti-Semitic attacks, incidents here in the US, and then those numbers, as we all know, are just going up. And we're not talking about casual anti-Semitism. I personally had people scream at me. My daughter was attacked on campus, verbally threatened when she was at UAlbany. Those aren't reported. It would be much higher, trust me. So no, this is not a game to many of us. We don't get to pick and choose which cause to pretend to care about. Anti-Israeli propaganda has real consequences to some of us. To illustrate this, upon returning home from Israel, my son told my husband that he felt safer as a Jew in Israel than he felt here in the US. And what did he do? He took his kippah off as soon as he left the airport, just in case.
20 seconds, Charlene.
So that's the reality that we live in, and I would strongly recommend that the board not adopt the resolution on Gaza.
Thank you. Liz, I saw your hand.
Liz Cormos, 89 High. I'd like to say I support motion A and also D. My husband's Jewish. I know a lot of people who are, and many of those are against what's happening in Gaza. It's really amazing that Jewish people in Israel are treating Palestinians the same way they were treated in World War II. It just doesn't make sense, you know? So I'm in favor of that motion. And second comment is on the Motion C, I'd like to understand why Family Fun Day is up at the park. I haven't heard an explanation, there must be an explanation why it's up at the fairgrounds, when I thought the idea was to support local businesses and have people come. And, you know, the last couple of years it was out on the street. And also, to spend $6,000 on fireworks seems a bit excessive. And when we moved here, 12 years ago, that was a real issue. People were saying that that's not really a good use of village money for, you know, a short thing. And they don't even do fireworks with the fair, so why is Family Fun Day spending $6,000 to do fireworks?
Thank you. Go ahead.
My name is Tricia Frankwich. I'm a friend of Charlene's. I know.
What's your address if you don't mind?
Oh, 24 B Lab.
Thank you.
So everyone, some of the people here are talking about Gaza and the genocide that's happening in Gaza. But I think on the flip side of that, we might need a little bit of history, because there have been plenty of times where a two-state solution has been rejected by the Arabs. In 1936, Arabs rebelled against the British and Jews in the Middle East. The split of the territory was offered by the Peel Commission, a task force formed by the British, led by Lord William Peel, in favor of the Arabs over the Jews. The Jews accepted the offer even though they were getting very little land. The Arabs did not. In 1947, the UN voted for a two-state solution. Again, the Jews accepted it, but the Arabs did not. Instead, the Arabs declared an all-out war, joined by Jordan, Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, and Egypt, and they lost. Jordan ended up occupying the West Bank and East Jerusalem. In 1967, the 6 Days War, Israel won back the West Bank and Jerusalem. Half of Israel wanted to return the West Bank to Jordan and Gaza to Egypt in exchange for peace. The other half wanted to give the region to the Arabs, who had begun referring to themselves as Palestinians. But this was also turned down by Arab leaders. In 2000, a deal was attempted to be brokered by President Clinton with Yasser Arafat and Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak, offering all of Gaza, most of the West Bank and East Jerusalem as their capital. They again said no, and instead killed over 1,000 Israelis and injured thousands more in suicide bombings. In 2007, Hamas took power over the Gaza Strip. In 2008, a similar deal but with additional land was offered and yet again dismissed. After 5 failed attempts for peace with a two-state solution, Israel left Gaza to the hands of Hamas, allowing them to have complete control. Instead of developing this territory for the good of its citizens, the self-proclaimed Palestinians turned Gaza into a terrorist base from which they have fired thousands upon thousands of rockets into Israel. Fast forward to 7 October 2023, Hamas infiltrates Israel, the Nova Music Festival, and many surrounding kibbutzim, or towns. They kidnapped 250, slaughtered over 1,200, and injured thousands. They raped women in front of their husbands and children. They threw babies in ovens in front of their parents.
Ma'am?
They threw babies in ovens in front of their parents, and they had to watch while their children cooked to death. Families were torn apart, and there's still 50 hostages under Hamas's possession, starving and dying. I bet you didn't know that on Wednesday, 11 June 2025, Hamas ambushed a bus carrying aid in 24 Palestinian aid workers sent to bring
20
supplies
seconds.
to Khan Yunis, the Gaza Strip, murdered by Hamas because they were trying to help their people bring aid from Israel. The people of Gaza will always be Hamas's first victims. Hamas continues to steal food and starve their own people, just uses propaganda to fool the world into thinking they are not receiving any aid, blaming Israel and the West for what they are actually causing.
Your time's up. Thank you. Next. Rick?
Request that I be.
Yes, absolutely.
From
You're fine. You're fine.
Well, over.
Yeah.
As
What's
one,
your name and address?
Ray Houghton, 16, Middleburg. 16, yes. As one who is of no particular political nor religious background, I do oppose the village taking sides with either a political party by itself or a religious stand. There are way too many different opinions in religion and too many different people in as you've heard tonight, there's already 3 or 4 people that are, coming back and forth here, so there's a lot of views, and I don't see how the village can take a particular view for one religion or another. It doesn't make sense to me. There's just too much diversity to even think about doing that. So I'm opposed to that portion of it. And I just wanted to read one more thing off here very quickly. Pertaining to the fireworks display at Saratoga County Fairgrounds, aggregate value of $6,000. Proof of insurance has been provided and donations have been received to cover the cost. It's not costing the village $6,000. Donations, private donations have been given to cover the cost. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Chris first.
Chris View, 6 Scaling Drive. As my wife had already spoke about, I'm also decrying motion D here. I went on, I looked at the resolution. I like to look at it before I come up here. I saw some numbers thrown out there. I didn't see any sources for it, so I did a little research on it. You mentioned 60,000 Palestinians have died during the conflict in Gaza. Again, have there been deaths? Absolutely, but I went to go quote that particular number. Found it on the UN's website, and unfortunately, they got their information. They met it from the Gaza Ministry of Health, which is unfortunately controlled by Hamas. Again, there can be a concern there. There absolutely can be. I've heard some talk about, Israelis decrying what's going on with the Palestinians. That they feel it's as if it's World War II. I say a picture speaks of 1,000 words, so I brought 2 of them. Now, the air conditioner stopped blowing it. The one on the right is 21-year-old Ram. The one on the left is 24-year-old Evie. Excuse me. Both hostages. Look at their bodies. Now, I've done a lot of events where Holocaust survivors have come and talked, usually during Yom HaShoah. And usually these pictures are black and white. Usually they're Auschwitz or Birkenau. This is today, happening today. In fact, you can even find the video of this poor gentleman, 24, digging his own grave and saying he's digging his own grave in one of the tunnels. This was just 2 weekends ago. This was posted after everybody was decrying the picture in the New York Times of a child that has since been debunked as having cerebral palsy. Again, there is a hunger situation, absolutely. I see, a lot of people wanting to get involved, and I always provide solutions. One of the biggest solutions I would say is go to an organization like the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. I saw in there asking for the U.S. to get involved. The U.S. has been getting involved. They backed this organization. They've given it $30 million. You'll probably look them up and you'll find all kinds of news about them, but I would recommend going to a site as American Jewish Committee. They vet what's going on. They provide the information of how much aid is being provided. Unfortunately, most of it is being stolen by Hamas, anything that's being provided by the UN. Is that still necessary? Absolutely. There's just not enough aid even for the GHF to be able to cover. They only have 3 sites right now. They provide sites where Palestinians can go and be safe from Hamas, where the food can actually be distributed.
20 seconds, Chris.
Again, I hear a lot of talk, but I don't hear many solutions. So I'm giving you one solution right there. Again, look into your information. Is there a problem? Yes, there are people that need the aid. Unfortunately, the aid is being diverted and stolen. And I would suggest look into it. Look into all sides, look into all sites. Again, it's just good to get the sides of both pictures.
Hey, Chris, we got Mike Kikuchi, I believe, on Zoom. We'll go over him.
Thank you. Good evening. Mike Icalucci, 3 Encore Drive. Just 2 quick comments. Like Liz Cormos earlier, I just want to voice my support for motion 7A. And with respect to the resolution, I guess it's motion 7D. This is a terribly emotional issue. There are awful things that have happened following the brutal, unexplainable attack by Hamas in October of 2023, excuse me. There's no one I know who approves of that attack by Hamas. And I think, to me, this resolution represents a step toward pushing governments, both the US and others, into taking action to alleviate suffering that is being borne by hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. And in that sense, I support the resolution and hope that everyone in that general area can move forward from the awful things that have happened. Thank you.
Thank you. Gina, your hand was up, I thought.
It was. Gina Morosi, 10 Old Glory Lane. I'm a firm believer that solving problems in charity and helping others begins at home. There have been several flowery comments supporting an end to what's going on over there. That's been going on for lifetimes, generations, battling. Why are we getting involved in something that, at the end of the day, our flowery words and our resolutions, what are they really, really going to accomplish? What I'm concerned with, and I'm going to go with Ray on this, we live in the greatest country, in my opinion, in the world. We have our own issues at home. We have hungry children, not just in this country, not just in this state, but we have children that don't have food in this immediate community in our school district. We have homeless children in our school district to the tune of well over 800. We have children that don't have lunch and breakfast in the summer because school's out and that's the place that they were guaranteed that meal. So where's the resolutions and the comments and the outrage over that? Where is everybody that's wanting to solve the problems abroad when we're trying to solve the problems at home? When we're out delivering lunches, free lunches to these hungry children? Where's the resolution for that? When we're raising money, donations, Liz, for $1,000 in food vouchers, because even though we're having very affordable food at Family Fun Day, there's still families that can't afford to do it. So we have people that have donated money to give out family fun cash so these children can eat that day and just be a kid and enjoy themselves. Where's the resolution for that? As a mother, when I saw what happened at that music festival, my daughter travels the world and goes to music festivals. That could have been my daughter. That hits me in the heart. Where's the resolution for that? I'm a firm believer, words are great. They're worth the paper they're written on. I believe in shutting up and showing up and helping. And maybe we all think about that and let's do something local before we go overseas. Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes.
Kristen Icolucci, 24 Chapman Street. Hello. I'm here again speaking on behalf of myself as your constituent, asking you to please support and pass the resolution on the humanitarian crisis in Gaza presented by Trustee Bastian. I've continued to reach out to Congressman Tonko, Senators Gillibrand and Schumer on this matter, and I will continue to ask you to use your political power to call for humanitarian aid to be let into Gaza immediately and a permanent ceasefire to be established immediately. I've heard a lot of perspectives here, perspectives from folks that have gone to Israel. I'm glad to hear that. Other perspectives that we disagree with. I haven't really heard, outside of Mr. Dubuque's questioning the actual numbers in the resolution, what is the religious opposition in the resolution that we're proposing? What's the political opposition in the resolution that we're proposing? Mr. Dubuque, the US government uses the same data
Kristen.
that is in the ceasefire.
Please address this board, just to keep
Sure.
it civil.
I'm sorry, I apologize. I was greatly disappointed, actually, in the last village meeting on July 28th, the silence on this matter from Mayor Rossi, from Trustee Bush, and Trustee Van Dansen. Especially considering that you gave an emotional plea on this very same topic in the village meeting on October 23rd, 2023. So to say that we're not focusing on local issues and we shouldn't be focusing on international issues, this was brought up before, and I think it's interesting that you were willing to speak up and act then. I hope you do speak up now and act by passing this resolution. I really do believe it's our responsibility as active citizens in our democracy to compel and petition our elected officials at every level to act on our behalf, especially in the matters of how our tax dollars are used. Our government spends billions of our tax dollars to support a foreign government that is not following international law. Therefore, we're all responsible to speak out. Your silence is not acceptable. I look forward to hearing your comments on this proposed resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the room? And anybody else on Zoom? No. And that means it's time for no consent agenda items because there were none under consideration. Let's go to motions, resolutions for consideration and vote. Can I get a motion that Kim Anderson be granted permission to conduct a peaceful public assembly in support of democracy on 8/30/2025 from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. on the sidewalks at the Milton Avenue French Street intersection and to gather in Wiswell Park for announcements and live music. Note event form for park portion of this motion and proof of insurance are pending.
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Condensa, Trustee Baskin, discussion.
Just want to thank Kim for continuing to be really good about communicating with us, and she sounds like she's already working on the other parts, so we just appreciate that. So.
I did want to pass on, I have gotten a couple comments from business owners locally, a little concerned about same day, same street scenarios. Something to think about, obviously, that will convey to Kim if she were to do this again in the future. I understand it's a goal to sort of interfere with the norm of life to sort of bring it in front of people, but at the same time, too, we have to balance it from our perspective, respective business owners, et cetera, to a certain degree, too. Obviously, it's not a reason to not approve this, but it's something to think about in terms of accommodation for future possibilities of this down the line.
Yeah, I'd just like to add, Kim did an excellent job communicating with local business owners as well, with police and everyone else involved. She got some great feedback from business owners saying that they had excellent days that day, the last rally, and as did Farmers Market, had a record opening day. So overall, I think that it was a positive in terms of the economic outlook for the village to bring all those people. Many of them were from outside the village. I'm sure many of them had never been to the village before, so they were introduced to our lovely downtown. My impression from her letter to us is that business owners were pleased. Obviously, it was very peaceful. There's no trash afterwards. Everything went perfectly smoothly. So that was a testament to her and also the people on the street. Question I have is, if she is not able to get insurance for the music piece of that, does the other piece of the motion, the parade permit, will that still stand? Or do we, yes, we don't need to separate those out?
We're fine with that.
Okay, great.
Just to be clear though, Ben, I did get 3 separate business complaints from the first one. So it depended on what, I think happened during the day. I think some service-oriented businesses didn't get the normal foot traffic they might get, barbers or hair people, for instance, because parking might have been at a minimum in certain areas. There's different things on ups and downs that stuff like this causes. Again, I'm not trying to say that it's a horrible thing. It's not. It's just I take a realistic, step back approach to say, okay, how do we manage it? What can we do as a village to improve our business owners' concerns and everything else? It's just something to think about, but right now we're voting on one
Well,
for
I-
August 30th.
I
Go
think it
ahead.
helps that Kim has increased the amount of monitors there,
Yeah.
so hopefully that'll help guide a little of that, make sure that
Great.
businesses have a clear path to get people in there, so.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that, that this brought up to me is we do need insurance for special events, which makes sense, but we don't seem to need it for the parade permit, which I thought maybe we should, wouldn't it be equivalent?
I'm gonna hand this to legal.
It's not in your code.
It's not in the law.
Right, it's not in
Is
your
that
code.
was that an oversight? Should we have it in there?
No, it's,
So we don't need it for parade?
well,
One
no,
is-
because a lot of the times a parade, I apologize, but
No,
a
you're
lot of
fine.
times a parade has multiple people involved in it, so, if you wanna ask for the major parade person to provide insurance, you can. A lot of times it's their homeowner's insurance, though, with her, it may be her homeowner's insurance, and she may not be able to obtain the insurance needed for that. But it's, something if you want me to look into, I'm happy to do so.
Well, I mean, that's the same issue for special events. You just want.
Well, yes and
No,
no.
well-
The special event is a facility essentially that you're utilizing, a park in this case. So we're trying to protect against damage and injury inside of our park that normally we would be responsible for directly. Whereas walking on a sidewalk and, something happens with people, for whatever reason, that's sort of not the same scenario that I can understand why one is covered and one isn't covered in the same way. If I'm just walking down the street right now, I'm not getting a $2 million insurance policy as I'm walking down the street. We just have a collection of people that are walking down the street or standing on the street or whatever you want to say, or sidewalk, I should say.
Sorry, just, in the case of the business association for the holiday parade, they asked the applicants, like the participants, to have insurance. So,
So they ask each applicant.
yeah, as far as I'm aware, I think that's always been the case. So,
Versus they have-
yeah, so like BSBCPA doesn't want to be responsible for everybody's liability, so that's why they asked for it.
For the
so-
parade.
For the parade, yeah.
So maybe they
Yeah.
don't have to do that, it sounds like.
So I think we're covered, I guess is what I'm saying. In the case of freedom of speech, I don't know, are you gonna ask people to provide insurance for that? But in the case of the larger parades, I don't believe anybody's doing it without some sort of coverage, so.
Yeah, no, I mean, for me, if someone's on the sidewalk, off the street, not blocking traffic, that's a relatively low impact, low risk thing potentially, but when you put people in the street where traffic normally goes, it's slightly different, but,
Yeah, and I think that's a
if
facility.
our council
almost.
doesn't think we need it, then,
I'm happy to look into it if you'd like me to. It's not in your current code.
right.
Going back to the original motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Can I get a motion that Eagle Mountain Lead Fire Company number 1 be authorized to purchase 650 feet of hose at a cost of $4,862?
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Fandesa. Trustee Raymond, discussion. All in favor?
Aye. There's a little fight there.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion approving the contracts between Santori Fireworks and the Village of Ballston Spot for a fireworks display at the Saratoga County Fairgrounds on 8/17/2025 for Family Fun Day for an aggregate value of $6,000, and authorizing the mayor to execute the contracts. Proof of insurance has been provided and donations have been received to cover the cost.
I'll make the
Trustee
motion.
I'll
Fandesa,
second.
Trustee Price Bush, discussion.
So, this is great, you got donations. The question I have is, we've been told we're not allowed to
Solicit.
solicit donations, so,
Solicit.
so how is that, this?
You're allowed to
how-
accept, you're not allowed to ask for.
So these are spontaneous donations?
People
Without
have
solicitation.
stepped up, Gina, feel free to, if I'm misstating this, but people have seen the advertisements for, hey, we're having this, and they've stepped forward and say, hey, what can I get? Because they've stepped up and seen different events that we've held and know that they're underprivileged generally being benefited by it and have stepped in, and we appreciate that fact. That's part and parcel of who we are as a village, to be honest with you.
So, no, I think it's great people are donating. I just was curious how it was raised. A lot of donations are raised around this particular event, which is awesome. But in my experience, I've done a lot of fundraising and events. Usually you have to ask people so that they know, have the opportunity to give and know what's needed. And so
Sean,
it's
you wanna say
surprising
something too?
that this would be donated without.
You want to say something? You can say, you look like you're.
I was just wondering, I assume there's a list of these donors.
I believe so.
And I do know, volunteering at the previous Family Fun Days,
a lot of the people who have come have asked, when are you bringing the fireworks back? Because that was a huge part of family funding years ago. And I think they want to support it and make it what it once was.
And if I may, because you did include me,
Go ahead.
I've already got an offer to cover the fireworks for next year. So people believe in this event, believe in what we do. And like I said, somebody already walked up to me and said, talk to me early in the year, remind me about the fireworks because I want to cover it for you. One person.
Thank you to them, for sure. All in favor of the motion? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion to adopt the attached resolution on the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, post a resolution on the village website, mailed to New York Senators Schumer and Gillibrand, Congressperson Tonko and President Trump on village letterhead, and there's a note about board members to be working with Trustee Baskin over the weekend, potentially revise this resolution and this motion.
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Baskin, Trustee Raymond, discussion.
So I'll make a statement and then I'd like to read the resolution. Tonight I am introducing a motion on behalf of this emaciated 5-year-old girl, Lana Salih Juha, and the thousands of children just like her who are counting on the people of this country to say no to continuing mass starvation and mass death at the hands of the Israeli government. We need to take a moment to pay attention to the horror that is unfolding in Gaza with our government's full support. The U.S. provides the bombs and the political cover for the Israeli government's total destruction of Gaza and its inhabitants. It is imperative that all of us speak out against this violation of humanity in whatever forum we have, whether in government, places of worship, or community organizations, to urge our representatives to pressure the Israeli government to change course. Though this resolution will not change the immediate situation in Gaza, the point in doing this is to raise public awareness of the shocking situation and our government's complicity, to take a moral stand and to encourage others to do so in the hope that public opinion can eventually turn the tide towards peace and justice. And in that spirit, I'd like to read the resolution. Whereas over 60,000 Palestinians have died during the conflict in Gaza, whereas over 18,500 children have died during the conflict in Gaza, including death by starvation, whereas the entire population of the Gaza Strip, an estimated 2.2 million people, is facing acute levels of hunger, whereas the Israeli government continues to severely restrict the entry of food, medicine, infant formula, fuel, and other life-saving humanitarian supplies against international humanitarian law, whereas the health, housing, sanitation, transportation, and communication systems in Gaza have been almost entirely destroyed by Israeli forces, whereas Hamas committed a crime against humanity with its October 7, 2023 attack against Israel, resulting in the deaths of over 1,200 Israelis and the taking of 250 hostages, whereas Hamas has stated it will release all remaining hostages with implementation of a permanent ceasefire, whereas the United States has a responsibility to exert its tremendous influence over Israel to insist on a permanent ceasefire and an end to Israeli restrictions on humanitarian aid to reduce further loss of life, whereas all U.S. elected officials should use the influence of their position to end the humanitarian disaster in Gaza. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the trustees of the Village of Ballston Spa, New York, call on New York Senators Schumer and Gillibrand, Congressman Tonko, the White House, Department of State, and other relevant United States government agencies to immediately cease all offensive weapons transfers to Israel and to urgently use all available diplomatic tools to bring about an immediate and permanent ceasefire, the immediate and unconditional lifting of all restrictions on the entry of the humanitarian aid into the territory, the immediate release of all hostages held by Hamas, and the immediate release of civilian detainees held by Israel. And that's the resolution that I think this day and time calls for by this board. So I ask us to support and pass this resolution.
How do you handle this?
Well, I think,
There's a second, you have to, before another resolution.
Okay.
You have to go through this resolution.
Okay.
that said, you can offer to make changes to the existing one if
Right.
need be, and if it's refused, you could bring it up as a secondary motion later. It's up to you.
All I know is I wrote something that I think could perhaps in the interest of unity for the community, there are strong, I get it, Kristen, it is sad, it is gut-wrenching, it is. But as we hear, there's also very strong feelings about what happened previously, and I forget who said it, but it is going to be an ongoing conflict that we just have no resolution for as people, as our village, right? So I did provide, but I guess I can wait for this process to go through. I did provide different language, perhaps, that it does address humanitarian aid and something maybe not everybody's going to be perfectly happy, but at least it addresses that and other issues. I mean, when I started writing this, Somalia, for instance, has, I think it's 30 million people that need humanitarian aid. So that's, I'll let this process go through and I'll address it, I guess, I don't know, whenever you want, Frank, so where it makes sense to.
I mean, if you're suggesting substituting that for this, do you want to read that so people
Okay, I can, I just didn't want to
compare and
step
contrast?
over.
I don't know exactly the format, but you have submitted another resolution, and we might as well, I think, unless there's something process wrong with that, we can consider both and comment on both at the same time.
Well, I think she'd be offering it up as an amendment to your resolution is in part and parcel what would be going on right now in the process of this. You don't have to accept it because you made the motion, he made the second, and they'll both would have to accept the resolution amendment for it to become the amendment to that resolution or that motion. So if you'd like her to read it as consideration for potential amendment to the motion and the second, then great.
I guess when I read your resolution, I thought it was a fine resolution and I could vote for it because your words are fine, but that doesn't serve the purpose of this motion. So I would accept a second motion that says let's adopt that resolution, but I don't see that as substituting, because specifically the purpose of this is really to condemn Israeli government's action in Gaza and urge our government to pressure Israel to cease and desist what they're doing in Gaza as Israel's chief benefactor and military supplier. That's the purpose of the resolution. Your resolution is fine, but doesn't serve that purpose. So
I can wait to make a motion afterward if that's what you're more
I mean, I vote for that on its own merits, but not in place of this, I guess is what I'm saying. But maybe read it so everyone can see what we're talking about.
Well, I'll just make a motion afterwards, because you want it to be voted, and it doesn't sound like you'll accept this as an amendment.
Right.
So we might as well go through the process of yours first, and then I will happily make a motion afterward for this.
Yeah.
My goal ultimately is where we can be unified, I would like us to be, that is why I wrote it this way, but
Okay.
I guess we
All
just
right,
continue with the
That
process.
works for me to have a separate motion for that.
Continued discussion on the motion in front of us. I'll tell you right now that I would abstain from the current version of it on a couple of accounts. First, by all means, the humanitarian aid situation is obviously something I'm passionate about and care about immensely. I do take issue with comments about at the last meeting was just dropped on us inside the public comment session. And as you and I talked about Thursday, if you don't know necessarily what you want to say or how you want to handle it, that wasn't going to be the moment that I responded to it. And honestly, that night was simultaneous to all that, the night that people are getting shot up in a building where I have friends that work in New York City, simultaneous to it. And I bit my tongue about that going on and the notifications going off on my computer. But you know, when we're being shamed about something, I think it's appropriate to remind everybody that there are other things that are going on possibly, and if you really want to have a conversation about it, come to us beforehand, send us an email with your concerns, so that maybe we can have a more thoughtful discussion about it in that meeting at that point in time. That said, I think that this resolution goes too far in trying to pick sides in a situation where no side is doing justice for anybody the right way at this point. I think you just said it yourself, that it's basically being positioned toward one side of this situation. And while I may or may not agree with that, I am a mayor of a village of 5,000 or 4,900 people, and I have to take into consideration, when I'm making a vote like this, everybody's feelings on it. And even in this room tonight, we had some that agree and some that disagree passionately on something like this, and this isn't our wheelhouse. This isn't our moment. Back in October 7th, when we had to vote afterward about what happened, I think it was one of those scenarios where we all agreed it was an act of war by Hamas, that people got killed, innocents were killed. We never want to see that. That was their 9/11. And I remember 9/11 vividly to this day, and I can't imagine, I guess I can to a degree, but still it's not something you want to imagine again. And that's why we took a stand to sort of unite in that moment. Here we've got a situation where blaming one side or the other doesn't fit the bill. Everybody's to blame, and nobody's perfect in this situation. Also, the way that you've postured the end of it, I don't have to sign that. You don't force somebody to sign a, statement like that as a mayor or something along those lines. So even the way that's ending in your format would not be appropriate generally. I did look that up.
That's how we've done it in the past.
Not for something like this. I've never signed off on a resolution. It's a board voted resolution ultimately. I never have signed off.
I think we did that for World Refugee Day format. But anyway, it's a minor technicality with that piece.
Just so you know, I didn't sign that. So I'll abstain based on the ideas I just brought forth.
The irony's not lost on me that it was just like 3 or 4 years ago that I believe we did a resolution, but we were certainly emphatic about a foreign power occupying a region, the Donbass region in Ukraine. And we were very specific about that, very specific about condemning that. The parallels are uncanny. You have a foreign power occupying some other people's region of land, their homeland, and have indiscriminately bombed it into rubble, have restricted access to food and water, so there's disease, famine, and it's, I keep hearing, well, Hamas apparently is still so strong and powerful that they basically control the entire region, even though the IDF is in there unforced. So I'm not really sure how that all works. And it may be, standard reason that maybe some of the hostages are starving because there's just no food for anybody because of the restrictions. So to me, this seems like a no-brainer to vote to stop hunger, to vote to stop starving babies, to vote to stop bombing innocent civilians. I'm a civil engineer, and there's technology that you can map a cave from above ground. So the idea that they can't find the tunnels, I find deeply, I am quite suspicious of that, because you can map a cave down to its very last detail. So I'm not sure, I would assume Israel has access to that kind of technology. So I'm not really sure why they continue to indiscriminately bomb. So, and the bombing of hospitals, again, all this resolution wants to do is to make it stop and to allow anyone who wants to provide humanitarian aid to do so. I don't know why anyone would object to that. I can't even, there is no logical or rational reason to do so. And to address some of the comments by the public, Israel is a country, not a religion. Palestine is a country, not a religion. Gaza is a province, not a religion. So those are countries, just like Ukraine, just like Russia. And we seem to want to be on the right side of history there. I just don't know why we don't want to be on the right side of history now. And it takes people speaking out for our representatives to listen. And as a collective, as a coalition, this village board represents this village. So it represents those 4,900 people. I think that's a pretty strong statement. And again, all of this is only being allowed to happen because the US funds it. And that's just simply what it is. It's funded. We provide the munitions, we provide the funding, we provide the funding so that Israel can maintain its economy while it has this prolonged conflict. So the sooner we stop that funding, I think the sooner we'll have peace, which is kind of what Bernadette's resolution is saying, is that peace is good, war is bad. I think we all can agree on that. I don't think there's any decent human being on the planet that would disagree that war is bad, peace is good. But I think we need to be more specific. And we were more specific about Ukraine and Russia. I just don't understand why when we change the name of countries, all of a sudden we have an entirely different ethical point of view, a moral point of view, and a set of standards.
I did a search and I can't find where you're
Well,
talking
we
about.
may not have done a resolution,
You got
but
if I could finish for a second, just to tell you where I'm looking. Yeah, I did a global for Ukraine or root of Ukraine. The only thing that popped up that was fitting was February 28, 2022 meeting. And there were comments during public comment. Mandy Ryder had asked if the village could do something to sign support for Ukraine people. Gina Morosi said something about Ukrainian support volunteers taking on a project. Mayor states she will circle back to the issue of the Ukrainian show of support. That's the only thing that can pop up in the search.
so if we didn't have a formal resolution, obviously everybody got behind specifically. So
just wanted to
I
make
mean, if
sure
you want
I'm
to vote no on a technicality, Frank, by all means.
I already told you what I'm
By all
voting.
means.
I'm abstaining for the reasons I stated. Okay, anybody else on this?
Well, just to clarify, the people who can't see the flag, there's a Ukrainian flag in the window, because we all support the struggle in Ukraine, and to Sean's point. And Bernadette did introduce a resolution condemning Hamas, and they should be condemned for what they did. And now, at this point in time, Israel should be condemned for what it's doing. And it's a very similar approach based on what has happened on the ground and our responsibilities as moral people, and our responsibility as U.S. citizens in each instance. So this is really doing nothing more than what was done before.
Okay, roll call vote, please. Madam
Can I
Clerk?
just say?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mary first, sorry.
The way it's written, and it's too one-sided. I agree with the mayor. There's victims on both sides, and things are happening on both sides. And I don't appreciate being shamed for not supporting it spontaneously last week. So I'm just making my statement that the way it's written, I don't support it.
Okay, let's go to a roll call vote at this point.
I'd like to add one more thing.
Okay or not? Sorry.
So, just to be clear, whether or not you want to agree with Ben's numbers or you want to agree with Chris's numbers, we all can say very safely that the death toll of civilians by Hamas compared to by the IDF The IDF is killed 20 to 30 to 1. Okay, those are the facts. Now, if you want to say there's some on both sides, you're absolutely right. But, you know, when you look at the scales of justice, if you have 20 to 30 the amount here, obviously that tips one way. So that's all I wanted to say.
Roll call.
Trustee Juanita,
Abstain.
trustee Bush,
Abstain.
trustee Baskin,
Yes.
trustee Raymond,
Yes.
3 abstentions.
Oh, hold on, you didn't ask me to vote.
It's not over here, they are also.
Abstain for the reasons brought up earlier.
I guess I'll find an answer.
Yeah. So the count is 2 to 0 to 3. For the purpose of vote count, the abstentions turn into no votes, so it is 2 to 3 and the motion fails. Can I get a motion approving the following resolution?
Oh, I'll make the motion. Should I read it? Oh, read it, sorry. Resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ballston Spa, New York on the ongoing humanitarian crisis caused by war and conflict. Whereas the Village of Ballston Spa and its residents value mutual understanding, compassion, peace, and the protection of innocent civilians, both in the United States and around the world. And whereas we urge peace in the Sudan, Israel and Gaza, Yemen, Somalia, Syria, Ukraine, Haiti, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, and other conflicts in the present and future. And whereas the magnitude of innocent suffering in these conflicts is unfathomable, with tens of millions of people in need of humanitarian intervention and aid. And whereas ongoing wars and conflicts have led to significant and overwhelming negative impacts on innocent civilians that have led to many lives lost, children and families facing starvation, injury, displacement, and human rights violations. And whereas the toll of the innocent in these regions will be felt for decades to come due to lives lost, interruption in education and programs that empower people, unstable economies, and shattered hope. And whereas village residents stand in solidarity with those suffering who similarly wish for safety and prosperity and peace for their children and loved ones. Whereas the basic needs of safe shelter, nutrition, and emergency medical care are needed immediately in these conflict zones around the world. And whereas the Village of Ballston Spa condemns actions of nations, separatist groups, terrorist groups, and other political entities that interfere with humanitarian aid efforts. And whereas the Village of Ballston Spa believes the United States of America is specially positioned to advocate for downtrodden innocents and to appeal to world leaders to allow for humanitarian aid to be deployed to where it is needed without threat of war and violence. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village of Ballston Spa Board of Trustees call upon our federal officials and leaders to urge through diplomacy the safe transport of humanitarian aid, and for peaceful solutions to resolve violent political conflict.
You're making that motion?
I'm making that motion.
I will second it. Discussion, so this will be considered a spontaneous motion as a result, so a 90-second public comment is allowed. Again, if you're on Zoom, this will be a time to raise your hand if you'd like to address us for 90 seconds maximum, or anybody in the room, feel free to raise your hand and do the same. Go right ahead. If you could, I appreciate it. Jen, if you could move, yep, thank you.
Hamas is known for using civilians as shields. They place launchers on tops of schools and hospitals to shoot their rockets into Israel, and then if Israel decides to retaliate, Hamas cries that Israel killed innocents.
This is not about the resolution.
Yeah, everybody, take a deep breath. This has to be about the resolution that was just read, and the resolution is very specific, not to go into the specifics of the conflict that you're talking about. So we would ask you to maybe focus on the resolution that was just read.
Well, going into how she was saying about humanitarian aid, everyone basically condemns Israel for defending itself, but you have to hold Hamas accountable for their actions. Crying genocide in Israel, and it's Hamas who wants to exterminate Jews. Israel conducts their operations meticulously and strategically to ensure the least number of casualties possible. When they do have to retaliate,
This is
Hamas
not
puts
germane
their
to
own
the
people
motion
in
at
harm's
hand.
way.
Folks, I am the presiding officer. I'm trying to give her the
Then
edge.
handle the rhetoric.
I'm trying to give her the edge of where she's going on because she's trying to clutch onto a couple of words in here. I'm reading as she's doing it. I'm going to give her the rest of her 30 seconds at this point to finish.
basically Hamas uses their own people to put in their way. They steal humanitarian effort, they're stealing stuff from their own people. And as much as we want to help them, because everyone's starving in Gaza, that's not good. But it's Hamas's issue, it's not just Israel's issue. Israel does try to do the best they can, but it's Hamas that's standing in the way.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yes, I'd like to speak. Trustee Benedicte, did you mention Hamas in this at all?
Let me just, time out for everybody for 1 second. Just for the record, for again, your name and address.
Sorry, Tricia Frankwich, 24 Bulat.
And now, Kristen, if you could do the
Kristen
same.
Nicolucci, 24 Chapman
Thank
Street.
you, sorry.
Could you just repeat the, your resolution where you were saying like what?
Hamas was not mentioned.
So
I
Hamas
said
was not
nations,
mentioned.
separate groups,
Was
terrorist
Gaza
groups.
mentioned though?
I mentioned several, yes, I mentioned
But Gaza is
Palestine.
mentioned there?
Gaza is in there.
Oh, okay. I definitely agree with your motion. I think it is a wonderful motion that I don't see any problem with, except that it does not address the specific topic that we need to address right now, which is the urgent humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Again, I think your motion is fine. I don't think that it suits the same purpose that Trustee Ballston's motion is. And I'm deeply disappointed that we're not moving forward with more specificity when our government dollars are being used by Israel to intentionally starve the people of Gaza. We should not be funding a foreign government that is intentionally starving a population. They control what goes in and out of Gaza. So again, we should use all leverage that we can, political power, diplomatic power, to encourage Israel to follow the law, international law, and let all humanitarian aid in, not just aid that is distributed in 3 or 4 specific spots where people are gunned down and murdered just trying to get aid.
10 seconds. Anybody else in the room? Chris, go ahead. Nobody on Zoom. Last chance on Zoom also, because we're running out of hands, it looks like, in the room. So if you would like to speak on Zoom, raise your hand now or forever hold peace on this issue. Chris, name and address again, please.
Chris Bukes, 6 Keeling Drive. I'd like to thank you for putting that in there. You know, often we are in Purple Village. There's a lot of people here, a lot of different viewpoints. I think that does address all the issues and concerns, a lot that is going on. Again, there's some great organizations out there. You probably can't pick one to show which solution you would advocate, but there are a lot of people passionate about humanitarian aid, and there's a lot of organizations out there that you can donate your time, your money, and you can certainly write to your representatives about supporting those organizations. Again, I'm very solution-based, and I appreciate an all-round approach. There's other issues out there that maybe a lot of people here in this village don't necessarily get behind or support, but there's an option. You can look at the other regions of the world that are also greatly impacted by hunger, conflict, and I think that is a well-rounded approach to bring that to their attention. Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, again, I just want people to understand this is an attempt to try to, I don't want our community to be divided where there's a place we can find common ground. I understand not everybody's happy, but I hope that we can get behind this.
I would like to speak.
Repeat the list of countries that you have listed.
Yeah, and I'm sure I gave a little, like, in other conflicts, because God knows I don't want to miss one, but I'm sure I did. But I said, we urge peace in Sudan, Israel, and Gaza, Yemen, Somalia, Syria, Ukraine, Haiti, and the Democratic Republic, I can't talk, I'm sorry.
Democratic Republic of Congo.
Thank you.
You got it.
And other conflicts in the present and future. I tried to be
I mean, Iran is
encompassing.
another one that got bombed by Israel, and civilians died as a result. So, I don't know, you may want to include that.
Why don't we let Ellie do her 90 seconds. Name and address as always.
Ellie Dillon, 116 Malta Avenue. I don't give a fig on what side someone is on. Bernadette, I applaud you for trying to create a recognition of humanitarian crises in this world. But right now, if we don't speak out at the one in Gaza, which is systematically being destroyed. If we don't speak out, we are compliant. That's it.
Anybody else? Go ahead. Name and address, okay?
Ephraim David, 6 Million Drive. So people, I feel like if we talk about in terms of international pressure, you'll see there's plenty on the issue that's going on with humanitarian aid in Gaza. And I support your resolution, and I think we should start to bring light to other issues that aren't quite so talked about, that I feel like as a community, it would less divide our community that we can all support. Like, you'll see like there's other genocides happening, like the Uyghurs in China. You'll see there was recently a genocide, you can call it, there was discrimination against Muslims in Myanmar. There's persecution of Armenians in Azerbaijan, and I feel like we should start like maybe look for supporting resolutions that would bring light to those issues that aren't quite so talked about, not like Israel, Gaza, which would divide the community.
Ephraim, how old are you?
15.
More 15-year-olds had your brains and ability to speak up on something like that, we're in a good place in our future. Let me just tell you that, okay? Anybody else?
If I could just interject real quick, is there, like, I know in Ben's, we had an action plan to reach out to the senators and President Trump, the White House, since what you're talking about was mostly addressed through USAID funds that have been eliminated by the White House, you may want to include that in that resolution that say, urge the White House to reinstate the funds to the USAID so that they can actually address all of those things that are happening around the world. So, I mean, that might be an amendment that you might want to consider. An action plan.
Are you requesting a specific amendment?
Yes, I think we should amend it that we are going to have to take some sort of action, reach out to our representatives in the White House, and more specifically, maybe refund the USAID in those areas where they would directly help the people that.
I got it. I'm not trying to be a jerk when I'm doing this, but it's kind of throwing two different things out there, it sounds like. So what would you like to first approach amendment-wise?
I would say amend it so that we are going to send this resolution and request that our representatives in the White House fund programs to benefit those disenfranchised people in the areas that were mentioned in the resolution.
Well, your motion, my second, go ahead.
So that last paragraph of resolve, it does say call upon our federal officials and leaders to urge, and I can add in to also reinstate funding for programs. I don't think that's a bad thing to ask for, so.
Okay, that works.
I'll have to rewrite it and send it to Terry and everybody, but I'll make sure that's in there.
Well,
as long as you're okay with it, I accept it.
Frank has to accept it too.
I feel bad. Sorry, I'm a little,
Something we should all know, or?
No, she's saying she can type it, but I on the spot, I'm like, oh, gosh, give me a second.
I have it up here that I could type it, that's what I said.
Alright, great.
You got better internet here than at work lately?
New computer.
Yeah, nice.
You can make it as a, put a comma after humanitarian aid, say reinstate funding for programs intended for humanitarian assistance, maybe, I don't know.
How about just through diplomacy, the safe transport and reinstatement of humanitarian aid?
Funding though, there is humanitarian aid, but I think it is important to say funding. So, back to what I was saying.
Intended for such aid.
Yeah, that works.
All right, it says now, the resolved paragraph, right? Resolved that the Village of Ballston Spa Board of Trustees call upon our federal officials and leaders to urge through diplomacy the safe transport of humanitarian aid, reinstate funding for programs intended to provide such aid, and for peaceful solutions to resolve violent political conflict.
Is that asked to calls?
Calls any, call.
Yeah, sure, calls.
Oh, sorry. Typo.
I'm not the biggest fan of it in the world, but as I said to you on Sunday, I think it was in an email back and forth, it's a meeting in the middle scenario, and so I will accept it as a way to get this done. With respect to the sending this to people, you can make sure that the clerk would validate vote at the end of it on village letterhead, and that's the way the resolution is basically shown. We voted aye on it and the vote, and that's essentially like a minutes type of reflection of it. She will gladly, I think, get you a document that if you want to send it to X, Y, or Z leader, you will say the Village of Ballston Spa Board of Trustees approved this resolution by a 5-0 vote and the names of the people that voted aye or nay on it. Okay, so you have that ability.
That's fine. I just have a couple comments to make. I said I could vote for that, and if that was if that resolution was presented on its own, I would vote for it. I think the words are fine. Because it is being presented as a substitute and alternative to the resolution that I presented, I'm going to have to abstain because it does not condemn the Israeli government for intentionally starving 2 million people and reducing Gaza to rubble, and call on the United States to pressure Israel to change its policies. And I think that's what the situation calls for. And because it doesn't do that, it's not like it doesn't say good things, but it doesn't serve the purpose of what resolution I was hoping would be passed here would do. So for that reason, I'm going to abstain from this resolution.
Any further discussion?
I would just say, and again, maybe I interpreted it wrong, but yours is about humanitarian aid and it mentions Israel. Well, Israel does not need any humanitarian aid. They're doing just fine.
No, mine is talking about the specific line is we urge peace in those regions. That's what I mean by that, not necessarily that any particular country.
Yeah, again,
it's about the aid to the people, not the nations.
I think it really should be more specific because we know why there's not peace there. It's because Gaza's being occupied by a foreign power. So I think it should be more specific. So I'm going to be abstaining from this vote.
Roll call vote, please. Madam Clerk.
Trustee Barnetta.
Yes.
Trustee Francis.
Yes.
Trustee Baskin.
Abstain.
Trustee Raymond.
Abstain.
Mayor Russell.
Yes, it is 3-0 to 2. Again, the abstentions go over to no for the vote tally. It is 3-2, and the motion for this resolution carries. Can I get a motion that the Village of Ballston Spa DPW be granted permission to purchase a Tarco leaf collection box with flexible connector for $11,184? This was previously anticipated in the fiscal year 2026 budget.
I make that motion.
Trustee Raymond, Trustee Fandesa, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion approving the in-village water connection for 105 Fairground Avenue? The connection has been approved by Labella Engineering and the Village Water Department.
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Fandesa.
second.
Trustee Price-Bush, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Walk-ons. Can I get a motion approving the agreement between Delaware Engineering and the Village of Ballston Spa, approving the $12,500 proposal, not to exceed $12,500 proposal related to work to devise a concept plan / needs assessment for the DPW garage replacement.
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Fandesa, Trustee Raymond, discussion.
I'm just wondering, how does this relate to the money we put forward as a study? Did we put 20,000 or something towards?
We didn't do 20,000, I don't believe, but we are working with Bella. There were some hiccups, we'll just say, with respect to how they were handling this. I talked with Ruben Hall today. We're working to get some refund on some of the things that they weren't able to accomplish in this. I'm also going to work with Mary Beth Bianconi over at Delaware to streamline this a little bit. So this is not to exceed 12.5, but I'm going to actually try to pare it back a little bit on a couple of things that were in that. But for now, I just want to get moving, because if we're going to get this started next year, we've got to start getting it in progress here.
So that redoes some of the things that we were hoping.
Some, but not much. We didn't go through this type of process fully via Labella, and I think that's where this went off the rails a little bit in terms of they were building or trying to accomplish building what they felt we needed versus what our DPW felt we could get away with. And this, we're not looking for the Taj Mahal here. We're looking for essentially something functional that looks better than that, and I think you could put plywood up and that would look better than that right now. But you get the point that we're trying to do in a way that goes towards a certain dollar value approach, or $4 to $4.5 million, depending on if it's 10 to 14,000 square feet of a replacement building, and what to put inside those square feet to make it cost effective, but a 50-year plus building for us here in the village. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah. When a conceptual plan is available,
Absolutely.
please share it with the board.
Yep. You got it. It most likely will come to a point where that's going to be a vote ultimately to pursue the next step, so you'll see it for sure. All in favor of that walk-on?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion that the Village of Ballston Spa DPW be authorized to get tree work done on all the trees between Prospect Street and East High Street by Earth Care Plus for a total not to exceed $5,000. This work includes removal, trimming, and stump grinding.
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Fandesa.
Second.
I'll give it to Trustee Raymond. Discussion.
So I have a question. I did ask Caitlin, and they have not been consulted yet on this, it sounds like.
Trimming is not a requirement for that. This is actually for safety issues, especially on Route 50, because some of the signage, et cetera, is getting blocked, and so we need to get that taken care of. And also, during plow season, we're hitting those trees, and so we need to get this scaled back. Go ahead.
Now, I actually, resident engineer, Saratoga resident, he brought up there's also branches blocking one of the signal heads.
Yes, yep. And we're seeing the longer we let them grow, the worse off we're getting in that respect. So we've done a lot with the trees on Route 50, but we haven't done everything we need to do for sure.
I just wondering if it makes sense to consult with Chris and that committee, because sometimes they're able to bring some expertise in terms of how to save a tree if there's a question of knocking it down. And provide some guidance. I mean, it did say removal of trees too.
Removals occur through cooperation with Park and Tree. Trimming does not. Stump grinding obviously is from a removal previous. So the removal list is already in existence. We know what trees on Route 50 need to go, and so this is part of the process. We have a whole bunch of ash trees that are either dead or going to die down below 190, or I guess above, technically north of 199 Middleton Avenue, because of some kind of disease that hit all those trees, and either they're dead or they're going to be in the next 12 months.
All right, so these are not additional removals that they're not aware of?
No. They do consult with Caitlin and Chris on removals specifically and go to the database on those. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mayor's announcements. Just want to give some insight. We have put up 8 out of the 10 Your Speed Is signs that we had purchased a couple meetings back, I think it was. And thanks to Traffic Logic for getting those out so quickly. We realized that 3 of our 4 original signs have lost feed to the cloud, even though they're still active. You can see the numbers on them. We've got to get those reinitiated at Saratoga Ave, one up on Fairground. But we got the 8 into the system. Friday night, I kind of sat there at 11 p.m. because I have no life, apparently, and programmed these signs to where they're supposed to be and everything. And here's what we found. Okay, here's where they've been placed so far. 2 on Lexington in Colonial Hills, 1 in each direction. 2 on Malta Ave, in 1 in either direction near the school. 2 on McLean Street in each direction, east and westbound, 1 on Ballston Ave to supplement the one that is on the northbound side, to the southbound side now too, and 1 on Rollins Street heading down the hill past the stop sign. You got the flashing stop sign, which I gotta say is actually, Jen, a good improvement over there, because she's been on me about that stop sign, and we made that one happen. So going down the hill there in front of Danny Nelson's house, essentially, for those that know Danny. So what we're seeing is the following. First, in Colonial Hills, folks don't know what the speed limit is. They assume it's 20 or 25 miles per hour is what the reality is. And so when we popped up the 30 mile per hour speed limit sign, they're like, that's dangerous. How can it be that? And it's like, that's a speed limit. It's village-wide. We're trying to get CRTC to send us a contract for the 25 mile per hour study, which will look at different streets, see if they need to do certain enhancements to them to make them conducive to 25, but to make a village-wide speed limit of 25 miles per hour. That's all the law really gives us the ability to do in our own streets without the state intervening further, and often they won't. School zones are the only other exception where you can go into the 15 mile per hour zone at school zones or anything within like 1,320 feet of a school or something along those lines. It's very, very specific law that I tripped onto this weekend looking at this. So, yeah, eastbound Lexington, 12.6% speeders, westbound 0%. One of the signs needs to be repositioned because a tree, I think, that's blocking a little bit, so anybody going fast enough might not be getting actually registered by it, so that 0% might be a little bit off. The sign across the street, the neighbor's not very happy with us on that one, and we're trying to get a neighbor to find a new home for that sign. Even though it's our right of way, we will cooperate to try to get it into a different spot where somebody's gonna be okay with it. Rollins Street, 11.8%. Reasonable in terms of speeding. This was over 3 days. Ballston Avenue, if you're passing by Ben's house and you see this number flashing at you, essentially 30.2% of the time you're speeding right now, according to this. Ben, of course, is not. He's a law-abiding young man.
If you see a reading for 6 miles per hour, I was jogging by. Flashed up, so that's the outlier.
It does go down to the line, I'll tell you that. Got the numbers. I'll circle, I'll say Ben Baskin jogging.
That's good for speed training.
There you go. Well, they will register if you're going fast enough, though. I think it's greater than 3 miles per hour is what it registers at. Now the concern, all joking aside, McLean Street, which has become a cut through in both directions, people going up Eastern McLean to sort of take out the traffic light if they're turning left because it seems to be simpler to turn left further up that way, is what I've noticed. And that is the westbound direction, 47.7% speeding rate. Eastbound, cutting through when you see traffic at the Route 5067 light on Church, leading to Milton Avenue, 25.7%. I think part of that is that you can't really pick up that much speed by the time you hit that sign in the eastbound direction, but they're both still way out of whack compared to that 20% or less zone you want to be at in, you know, the worst case scenario. Malta Avenue, my God.
Ellie's right. She's been right all
Southbound, westbound, we put this one at Columbia, so before the stop sign. So now you're kind of unfettered between Hyde to the Chapman Street stop sign. This one's catching you in the process of that. 57.4% speeding rate out of 3,130 cars in that 3-day period.
And I'm still alive.
Don't walk in the middle of that street.
Yeah, right.
And in the opposite direction, so heading from Route 50 onto Malta Avenue and down toward Hyde, 22.5%, still over that 20% threshold. So I've gotten passwords for our DPW and for Chief Bush to be able to start monitoring this data, and we're going to start doing enforcement zones in certain streets here. We will also be rotating signs if Lexington proves to be not a useful place for these signs because really you can't go 30 in Colonial Hills, or there's a certain anxiety about even having a 30 mile per hour limit showing there at this point. We may rotate those out. We'll figure this out. We have 2 more signs to put up. The winners on this round of it are inbound into the village on East High Street, so probably just before High Boulevard, as people come into the village to slow them down as they get here. And going down the hill on Division Street apparently is a bad spot.
Yeah.
Future additions will include South Street West as well. East-North was mentioned quite a few times. As we rotate or purchase additional signs, we've got a good list from people. We got a really good participation rate on this with the crowdsourcing we were talking about last time. And we learned a lot about what people's perceptions are or aren't in these situations. So thank you to everybody that participated in that. But the long story short is we got to do better with this because, I mean, 47.7% one direction on McLean and 57.4% one direction on Malt Avenue is ridiculous. And we will also begin to program those signs to coincide with school zone hours. I got Ed Martin to get me kind of a good guideline for what to do with respect to that. And I will try to build it into the model here for the cloud so that it pushes the instructions to the signs to say, this time of day, it's 15. At this time of day, it's the full 30. And stay tuned to see when we can get that 25 mile per hour study done.
Does the signage, the technology allow you to see that if people are slowing down, like this has a beginning speed and then does that have an end speed?
It's
go by?
basically picking up the initial speed because that's the true speed that is assumed that the person is trying to go. So they're reacting. And
Right. That's typically the response, is you'll slow down.
you're going to assume that hopefully they are, but even you're going to see that sign before it registers you. I mean, Bath Street's notorious for that. I think your Ballston Avenue sign across the street there is notorious for that too. Or you see the sign, you see all the solar paneling and everything from a distance enough, and then finally it registers you. The only place where you don't get that is, and still the numbers on it are bad, the hill, Fairground Hill. When you get to the top of the hill, you don't see that sign. That one's kind of your most telling, oh, you didn't realize it was here type of thing. And people have done better with that one. It was worse originally when we put these signs up. So I think they're beginning to anticipate, yeah, we're not able to give you a ticket for it, but nobody wants to see a too fast thing flashing in your face as you're driving. It's a little embarrassing if somebody sees you doing it and knows who you are for that matter, and now it's exposed, at everybody what's going on. So it's good technology, especially in a village that only has 2 active police officers on at any given time. It helps us to target enforcement a little bit better at certain hours. It literally breaks it down by hour, number of cars, speed, and everything else. I just gave you kind of the macro view of each location to help you understand that, yeah, we do have a speeding issue in certain streets that are apparently more or less the collector streets.
And I think you'll find those numbers go down as people actually, there's
It's
a
there.
sign there
Yep.
that says my speed limit, and I'm above it.
That's why I grabbed them early. I wanted to see when people weren't so sure of it, what their tendencies were looking like.
So the FHWA determines speed limits by the 85th percentile speed.
Yep, and we have those in here. It gives us 85.
Right.
Yep.
So in reality, if some of those are below 15% going over, the 85th is probably below 30. So they're already going below the speed limit. So there's really no reason to change the speed limit. So, but
Well, the 85% on these 8, Ballston Avenue was 32. Over the last 24 hours, I can give you this. Let's see, Lexington eastbound 24, Lexington westbound 22, Malt Avenue northbound, which is basically eastbound, 32, Malt Avenue southbound westbound is 37, McLean Street is 30, eastbound, westbound 29, and Rollins Street 29.
so in reality, if you were going by the numbers you use, they're driving the 85th percentile speed is dead on.
I think what's scaring people, Sean, honestly, is that there's again, perception and presumption, and this is the Colonial Hills issue that multiple people hit me up about this week. Weekend. The perception is that 30 is fast, or faster than you realize it really is when you don't have a speed radar on somebody. And so 25 in some neighborhoods, they feel, is more acceptable. 20, some people want 15 in Colonial Hills. We're not going to be able to do that. 25 is going to be the limit to what the state's going to allow us to do. We'll have a study. We're going to pay 10 grand for the study, which it's for these signs essentially, but they can collect some of the data possibly through these signs that we already have in existence, so that's good news. But, the state's giving us $90,000 of the $100,000 for the studies that are gonna be necessary related to this. And we're gonna learn a lot about ourselves and about what the future should bring with respect to it. So you're right, I understand the 85th percentile speed situation, but the perceptions are real too. And I think they do take that into account when they're kind of looking at a village-wide speed limit.
Absolutely. I know that I live on Chesterwood. If somebody's doing 30, it looks really fast.
Yeah, it does. As they swarm around that.
And, but, that is the village-wide speed limit. And there's mountains of empirical evidence, unless you enforce the speed limit, doesn't matter what you change it to. People feel comfortable driving a certain speed on a certain piece of highway. And unless there is some sort of penalty, they will naturally, unconsciously drive that speed.
True story there, for sure. I think that's all I got. So I will move this over to Treasurer's Report. Let me see if I got this on my screen, and I do. Utility billing, we have had a flood of water and sewer payments. Thanks, Melissa. Coming into village office the first weekend in August, we are working on processing them and posting them to residents' accounts. Ben, to answer your question from earlier, it was in this Treasurer's Report actually, foreign fire insurance tax. Foreign fire insurance tax is the 2% premium that the state of New York charges out-of-state insurance companies for fire premium, essentially. They collect it, they give it to the municipalities to give to the fire companies that are protecting those areas. So the town of Milton, town of Ballston, and ourselves, we get shares of this, and we are basically giving it to distribute to each firehouse. They can use it for things that benefit the entirety of membership. Banquets, uniforms, things that, when you go to their banquet, for instance, it's probably being funded in part by the foreign fire fee.
Was that in the budget, or is that on top?
It's
40,000
over and above. It basically is something that is a direct hand to them to spend the way that they want to. And it's actually, there's interesting state guidance on this thing. I was looking at it earlier when you wrote, because I just want to make sure I had the full answer for you. The guidance is to keep it separate, essentially. We're just giving it to be the pass-through, floating it over to them. And that's why you see it going from our account to there and our account to there, basically, in that situation. So there you go.
Thank you.
You got it. And basically it's about $80,000 total, $40,000 each is, I think, what the number ended up being. It goes to the two Ballston fire companies as payments for fire protection. It's also affectionately called a 2% fee or something along those lines. Tax analysis was included in this. I will not bore you with all that, but thank you for paying your taxes, everybody. And for those that didn't, you're being penalized, and it will eventually be given over to the town and or county. So re-levies will be occurring soon. So please pay your bills if you haven't already.
All right, for some news from the Business Association. Just want to congratulate their Farmers Market Committee. They did the first ever Peach Fest. I saw both Ellie and Liz Biddle there as well. I want to guess, I'm really bad at guessing crowds. I want to say there was probably 700 people throughout the day, I'm going to guess. It was mobbed, yeah. It was so mobbed and so busy, and which is great for the vendors, that I was kind of annoyed because I wanted to get my vegetables and you had to wait in line. So that's
not
like,
all about your vegetables.
but it's a good problem, is my point. I don't think I've ever had to wait in line that long to shop for my veggies,
I know someone who saw that publicity, Gilderland, who came.
Oh, great. So
Gilderland.
I want people from other places to spend their money here. That sounds always like a good deal. But yeah, so congratulations to them. They've been getting a lot of good press for their activity, but that benefits the village incredibly. So I think there's talks about maybe doing another type of festival later in this season. But I think we can all look forward to the Peach Fest every year is my hope. And then just usual, the concerts, they're still ongoing. Thursday at 6 p.m. is the Diamond Cut Horns. I don't know what that kind of music is. And I believe after that is the Elvis Impersonator for that the Lions brings to the village. So really happy for our business community and our market. So that's all I got for today.
Thank you very much.
No.
Also, listen, after the first hour of this meeting, we need a little levity here. But Swimming Over the Stars also, I should have brought up earlier, a fantastic job done by our village pool staff, Kate and the leadership over there, the instructors and the
All the
lifeguards.
volunteers too.
And all of our
that
volunteers.
feed our community. That is another opportunity for some families that might have less to have a free meal and to enjoy a night of fun. So.
Can I should do this, I kind of chastised Melissa earlier because she was trying to give me walk on, but I think the total was less than $400. There are some checks that we should be cutting with respect to them that didn't make the abstract. Can I make a motion to approve no more than $400 of checks to be issued for reimbursements related to the Swimming Under the Stars event for food and other items that were purchased?
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Raymond, Trustee Bernadette, Trustee Conductor, I should say, we give 90 seconds. I would assume everybody would be okay with that happening, that we expedite payments for that. Go ahead.
Just a question, do you often give $400 to other events to reimburse food, or just this one?
This was actually food that we had planned to buy. It's part of the $5,000+ we give to Swimming Under the Stars, and they just fronted the money. So it's a reimbursement to people that had.
So it was already allocated funds
Yes.
at the village?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But we still have to approve it through abstract normally. We didn't have them until after Saturday, so that's why I never made the abstract. That's why I'm doing kind of a special one-off here quickly.
Looking for $400 for other, no, I'm just kidding.
I would say it's less than 400, I just don't have the exact figures, but
Yeah, it's under.
yeah, it was less than 400. I'm just trying to be inclusive to
No,
what I
thanks for
did
the
see. Yep. Okay, so all in favor of that? Opposed? Motion carries. So Melissa, go ahead and issue those checks to our volunteers at front of the money. Okay, sorry to cut everybody off on liaison reports, Mary.
Library news, the ribbon cutting for the new edition will be held Saturday, August 23rd at 2 p.m. Refreshments will be served and the library stories will be playing. I think we're going to do it on a loop. They're also going to be selling book bags, and book bags are to support the library. We're going to see if they can get the t-shirt sales again, so follow the library website for a QR code. You can place your orders. Also, the Adult Book Club will be starting Thursday, August 14th at 6:30 at the library, which was brought back by popular demand. And there's also a schedule on our website. The summertime story is still going on at Kelly Park Pavilion Thursday mornings at 10. The annual senior picnic will be held at the Saratoga County Fairgrounds on Friday, September 5th from 11 to 3. Advanced meal tickets are required. They're $5 each, and they're available at the Department of Aging and Youth Services or at the Saratoga County Senior Centers. And Family Fun Day is this Sunday, the 17th, starting at 10 a.m. The Family Fun Day with the crafts, it's free crafts, games, bounce houses. That goes until 5 p.m. Music by the Refrigerators starts at 5 and will go until 9 p.m. There's going to be food available throughout the day. And at 9 p.m., the refrigerators stop playing.
There'll be some fireworks. Katy Perry will start.
Then there will be fireworks at 9 p.m. And there's going to be glow sticks and other little, tchotchkes you can buy, candy, so be there. That volunteers are still legal.
Always.
So you can just show up at the day of the event still, and
Ken, it would be better if we knew you were coming.
who should they contact?
I'm sure the ladies here would be more than happy to take your phone numbers and give them to us, and we'll.
Or they can reach out to me personally on Facebook, or, either way, yeah, so we can assign them, it'll be great.
Also, thank you to the football team who will be providing some shifts, from what I understand. So the football teams, I should say, varsity, JV, et cetera, they're going to be helping out with this event as well. So thank you to all of them, and Coach Huntsman for working with us on that one. One other thing I want to say, just to build up the excitement a little bit here, the Balmuths donated this terrific item that they wanted to be in the library. We're working with Danielle Thompson, Charlene as well, Brookside Museum, to get this showcased. It is an absolute exquisite goblet, essentially, or chalice, however you want to look at it. Basically, it was used in a celebration in 1898, I think it was, following the Mexican-American War. This is where I screw it up every time. Spanish-American War, but before the Mexican-American War. Was that the way it worked? It's okay, but this is where, Ephraim, you have probably better knowledge on this than I do over there. But no, it was to celebrate villagers that were in there, and it is hand painted. It is gorgeous, and we are working. Danielle Thompson's working to get us. I think she's working with Jen to get a platform and casing for it to protect it. Charlene and company are going to help get some verbiage eventually, but we're making sure we can get it in there for the grand opening. But thank you to the Balmuths for giving that to the village. It's like I said, exquisite. I never expected to see something like this. Ellie, the Bottle Museum might have a little competition.
Oh, we're gonna top it.
Okay, fine. But no, thank you again, in all seriousness. Ben, go ahead on your end.
All right, Committee on the Arts has not met since last meeting, so I'll just repeat that there's a sketch and print opportunity, some classes, a 3-week series starting August 21st, and it costs $60, as you don't have to have an experience, and they provide all the supplies, and you can register with Brookside or with the through Facebook Committee on the Arts. And their next meeting is August 20th at Brookside. And then Caitlin has sent one of her emails. All right, the Park and Tree Board is excited to see the new trees planted on Milton Avenue. The trees were specifically chosen for their locations based on proximity to buildings. Soil testing deep roots does not pose risk to sidewalks. It has come to our attention that there is concern for the health of some of the trees, and we are actively working to address this. There has also been some concern about some of the new shrubs in Wiswell Park, and we are upping the water schedule in an effort to remedy the situation. Summer is busy and schedules fill up, but the Park and Tree Board is still trying to plan a work day in Kelly Park. If you're interested in helping with this effort, please send a message to the Park and Tree Board Facebook page. The next Park and Tree meeting is Tuesday, August 19th, 7 p.m. at Cornell Cooperative Extension.
I did ask DPW to knock down the weeds and clean up the playground area to the best of their abilities, because I would assume that if we weed now, we probably have done it at least for the season. There's still a lot more work to be done, but I at least wanted the playground to be reasonable over there.
So, excuse me, my son keeps calling me.
You
so
go ahead.
I'm gonna try to see what's going on here.
Sean can tell you what his report is if it's exciting and he wants to let you know.
I can send you the email. DPW is busy, as always in the summer. They've been setting up for Swimming Under the Stars. They will be setting up for Family Fun Day. They have some involvement in that. And then they replaced the catch basin on Rowland Street, and that's in prep for paving Rowland. Repaired a storm pipe on Maple Ave. Had to replace an oil pan on one of the trucks. Tapped the water main for the new McDonald's on Treble Ave. And then what you just mentioned with Kelly Park, did some landscape cleanup. Installed 8 Your Speed Is signs. So everybody be on the lookout for those. Replaced a fire hydrant on South Street, and things they're continuing to work on. The EPA data mandate for water services, it's coming along well, but they're still moving forward. And they're replacing non-working water meters as they can. They've been doing some line striping of crosswalks and start bars and no parking. Obviously, the center line striping will happen after the paving schedule. And they finished paving the meeting room in the library. It might be soon, right?
We'll finish the summer in here, and then we'll decide to probably pop over there.
Tile, you mean, or like not paving, right? Is that
What's that?
Painting. Oh, I thought you said paving. I was like, oh, I hope not.
We're paving
It's a new asphalt floor that we got down there. It's great.
We wanted something really durable.
Yeah.
And as always, the everyday thing, maintaining the pool and all the other village facilities. Also, if you brought to my attention, and I don't know how how to capture it, but DPW spends a lot of time preparing and setting up and setting down for events.
Yep.
Probably should be a way that we capture that time and
Well,
include it in their budget in the future.
Swimming on the Stars is technically a village event. Family Fun Day is a village event, so what we're recapturing is we're paying ourselves essentially. It's the other events that we have to be kind of cognizant of, the ones that are not technical village events. And we work with the folks. What usually has been happening is we'll give them the barricades set up type of scenario, and usually won't man it beyond that. Maybe Scott comes through and collects them, that weekend. And you will usually do it during the 3 hours they get minimum, I think it is, for other things or other duties you do for water testing and all that stuff. So they're not trying to rob the village in those scenarios. So you're already invested in a certain amount of overtime every weekend or additional work on the weekend. So it all kind of melds together. Family Fun Day, usually it's 1 or 2 people that are going to be sticking around, and then a quick breakdown at the end of the night. And because it's at the fairgrounds, to answer Liz's question from earlier, we've outgrown Front Street realistically. This event has been growing, and it's created some issues too in the number of times that we close Front Street for events. Now we've got smaller events that have asked us to close Front Street along the way, then the car show on top of it and everything else, and that's fine, and folks seem to be okay with it, but when you keep doing it over and over again, it starts having, for the same reason we're talking about the business impact of protests, et cetera, it starts to have an influence about how things are working on the street. So it was decided that, hey, if the fairgrounds are willing to have us for $500 basically, then it's a great thing. There's cooking fixtures up there that we'll have at our disposal. The Lions have a setup up there and everything else. So it's going back to where it started, which was at the fairgrounds.
I was gonna basically echo that. It's probably a better venue just because it has all those amenities.
It was great to showcase it on Front Street for a few years because it was the rebirth of it again. But we also learned even with Winter Festival, when we blocked the street for longer than a day essentially, we now rethink that even to cut it into 2 hills so that we'll have Front Street access except for during the actual event on that Saturday if we do it again. So, it's a learning process, but also it's nice to have in certain areas, but then you outgrow it or you create issues with it.
Well, we could really build it up and put it in an arch.
You first. I'll be right behind you.
Just touching on that little, I know for a car show, the business association takes care of trash that day. They actually have a volunteer for that. So where there's other organizations, they really do try to kind of take care of that to minimize, how much we use DPW for that stuff. So.
Okay. Old business zoning code. Basically, just need to see what you want to do with that second special meeting workshop. Carla right now is in possession. I have it. I'm not reading, as I said in my email. I'm not wasting my time until it's ready to go for a review one more time. It's 140 pages. You don't read it just to read it and then have yet another version come out. So Carla is working with Chris. He had some legal issues, questions that he wanted her to vet, and so she's doing that over the next few days. Then we have to have enough time to read it, basically, when she's able to get that to us, probably at the end of this week, give or take. So that would take us probably past our next meeting as an advisable time. So let's see, 1825.
Chris is unavailable until after the 27th anyway.
Okay, so I would suggest probably somewhere in that vicinity of September 1st to Monday. It's Labor Day.
Labor Day.
The 3rd I'm booked, I'll tell you that right now, and 4th. maybe we do it the Tuesday after our first meeting in September,
I'm
no?
out of town.
What's your schedule generally?
I'm out the 8th and 9th. I'll be down in South Carolina. But I'll be returning on the 9th. I mean, I might be able to make a late meeting, maybe.
What's wrong with the week of the August 25th?
You're not gonna have enough time to turn it around, I don't think, because
Or will be done this week? Well, another
Chris
Chris
is
is
gone
not.
until,
Chris goes away from the 14th to the 22nd.
working.
yeah, sorry.
So what have we, so the 27th or 28th? Or are you saying that we're gonna get our comments back to Chris prior to the meeting? Is that what our goal is?
I mean, hold on, it's August there, sorry. I mean, can you do 27th to 28th, anybody?
I could do that.
Do that.
That's Wednesday or
I
Thursday.
cannot do the 20, oh wait. Yes,
August?
Doctors. It's your senior year.
I know, go Bella.
I think the 27th we're talking about?
27, August 27th.
I think I can. I have to travel the next day, I think, but I'll double check.
Mary? 27,
27.
Ben 27, Sean 27. So we'll tentatively plan on the 27th at 7 p.m. 6:30?
6:30 I can.
6:30 good?
Sure.
Okay.
Why are we doing 6:30?
I just asked if we could do 6:30, it was just a,
Can we go more than an hour?
That's, I think, the presumption of why we do 6:30 is at least gives an hour and a half at the minimum on that.
6:30 to 8 or 8:30.
Yeah. So, okay, so
if
6.
Chris is available.
Now, Ben, listen to me.
Yeah.
6:30, 27.
And more than an hour, so that's great.
If Chris is available, so I will email him and make sure that he's available.
So there's that, no new business. Public comment on any issue, 3 minutes. Same rules applying generally here. If you're on Zoom and would like to speak on any issue, please raise your hand on Zoom. We already have Erin raising her hand, so we'll get to her in a second. And if you're in here, please also, I haven't read the rules in a while, but again, it's a general respect. Direct your comments in this direction to the board, not to individual members of the crowd. Overall respect of all people, groups, etc. And avoid profanity and just speak your mind, but do it in a way that you want your kids to hear you say it. I guess is probably the way I would reduce it down to. Yes, I have. Aaron on Zoom. We'll go to that.
Hi, Erin McCurdy, 35 Hyde Boulevard. I just wanted to comment on the speeding signs. I think it's really awesome that we've put up speeding signs around the village that are collecting data. I'm on Hyde, and we got the first set of signs, I believe, because we had the most complaints on speeding, but unfortunately, ours don't record any data. I'm not surprised at all that Malta and McLean were high, because I personally believe that those individuals are cutting through Hyde. I think there might be some assumptions that putting the speed signs up has decreased the speeding. I don't really know how true that is. I think a really good test of that assumption would be putting speed signs up on Hyde that actually do measure speed. I think if we were to do that and see that Hyde is possibly higher than all of these other streets that we're recording, that would be telling as to how effective they've been since we've had them. So I'm just really hoping that we can get some signs on Hyde that put out some data like the other streets. Thank you.
And one of the things I was saying earlier about Lexington's and Colonial Hills, if we get to a point where we still want them, but the data collection really isn't necessary, then maybe we flip those signs, type of thing, so we still have a sign. But one asterisk here is that one of the signs on Hyde is the school district sign, and so technically it should be remaining by the school over there, so I'd have to work with that Martin on how we would accomplish doing what I'm suggesting, but it's a little more convoluted than it would be for any other street for that reason. So thank you, Aaron, for that. Nobody else is on Zoom that I see currently. Liz will let go first, and Ellie after you, Liz. Actually, I should let you go first. I never let you go first. That's fine.
I want to go first.
You
Want to
want-
go first? Liz Cormos, 89 High. I think it's great that you got money for the fireworks. Personally, rather see that money go to something like school supplies instead of fireworks, but that's my personal opinion. Also, one thing I wanted to ask is, what is the status of creating water districts in the town of Milton and town of Ballston and Malta? As I remember, Milton promised to create districts which would lead us to be able to apply for grant money for improving our water infrastructure, which, as we saw recently, a lot of broken pipes. I mean, those pipes aren't getting any younger. So water, sewer, stormwater. I'd like to see some attention paid to our infrastructure. All this entertainment stuff is great, but our infrastructure is failing, and it's going to keep failing. And I'd like to see, when we sold Woods Hollow, part of the deal was that they would create the districts. Where does that stand?
Where it stands is that the town of Milton is handling it. Initially, we actually stopped them from proceeding because Milltown was a situation that was actually exemplifying some of the problems that can exist when you don't have water districts being handled well. That is partially in our established water district number 3 in the town of Milton. And what we saw was possibly somebody else serving in our water district and some of the other problems that come with it. So instead of letting somebody else come through and letting that happen, I said, stop the presses, we need to get this right, and then we can work on everything else. We're finishing up that work right now with the town and Delaware Engineering and the state, because the state had to authorize more capacity and utilization in that pump house, and also the Sam Scott folks, because it's their project too. Joe Lanero has been working hard on that and building us, obviously, but he's been, a hound dog to make sure that we've gotten this right and that we're going to keep it. And the next step after that is to finish up the general water districting in the town of Milton. Again, it sort of showed to everybody just how important it is to get it right. We did get an email, and we've gotten other emails or letters. Actually, it was a physical letter we got in this case from somebody that lives on Rollins Street in the town of Milton, that they saw this new water main go in before I think I was even mayor and you were a trustee. It was, I think, when Larry was mayor, they had installed it. Benny Slotnick was the supervisor to serve the Iron Spring project that's up there. Problem is that, as Carla basically said to me one day, as we were about to take dedication of it, you can't take dedication of it. And that was actually what started a whole domino effect of what is our water district situation and everything else. People want to tap into that higher capacity, higher pressure line or main, and we can't let them because technically we don't own it, and we can't take the responsibility to serve water through it currently. Now, when the water districts are done, we can, and so I made sure I CC'd the supervisor to remind him we'd like to get this done by the end of the year or as close to it as possible at this point, because there's no reason not to. We should be done with the Milltown questions, and we should be in a position to finish up the rest of it at that point in time. So that way we can serve water where we need to serve water at all times without having to do individual contracts every time.
So the time frame is by the end of this year?
That's a hope. I can't control how fast Delaware can pump this out. And remember, there's 4 different water providers in the town of Milton, so all of them have to get a say in what the final result looks like here, because obviously nobody's going to volunteer to lose current service zones that they already serve in that. So I've got to make sure our maps read correctly too when we get to that point. So, there's your answer.
It has been a while.
Hey, I agree, but there's a $210,000 scenario up there called Milltown per year for the village, and that is 10% of our property taxes right there. Obviously, there's costs against that, but still, it's a large large sum of money per year, and it's important for the village to take in revenue like that for the future. Otherwise, we're gonna end up in the Scotia situation and have $17.54 taxes per year versus the $5.80 plus that we're at right now per thousand. We're trying to manage the future here for a village that can't build out anymore.
Yeah, well, I'm glad this is moving forward because as LaBella Burge saying, you can't do much of anything until we get water districts.
Don's always talking with us, Don Rhodes over at LaBerge, and he's helping us with other matters too. He's working with us on leak analysis as well right now, which is something important. We learned in that pump house in Milton, we're losing too much water. We're not sure exactly what's going on, if it's true water loss, if something's not registering correctly in the meters on the other end for the end users, stuff like that, we're going to try to do a full assessment of water leakage so that we're not producing or losing 20% of our water each year, which is quite a bit of water to lose and quite a bit of energy and chemicals and stuff like that we've got to try to get back as much as we can. So there you go. Maybe, yeah, sorry. Ellie, you were going next. I'm sorry for throwing it on you.
Ellie Dillon, 116 Malta Speedway.
Sunday.
I wanted to tell you, Bernadette, that when I was turning onto Malta Avenue Speedway on the day of the Peach Festival, there was a line outside Coffee Planet.
Good.
Never has that ever happened before. It was wonderful. The second thing, I'm wondering, have you ever thought about maybe just removing the double yellow line on Malta Avenue? They stop at that, they go past the school, and they see this runway, and they floor it. I don't know.
It's unique, Ellie, because I got Bob Liddell on High Boulevard asking us to install a double yellow line.
Give it to them.
Because he thinks that it slows people down.
No.
You think it creates speed, but it's a very interesting thing, and like
What do you say, Sean?
Yeah, Sean, what do you say?
Usually striping helps. Now, if you can use, like if you had parking areas and you painted those areas so that you give
narrowing
visual impression that the lanes are narrow, people will instinctually go slower. But it's a lot of pain.
It's one of the reasons why I've been saying if if the Angelica project goes forward, Tarrant Commons goes forward, to go for angled parking, recess the sidewalk in and get angled parking, because the idea is you can narrow the street using the angled parking somewhat. It may slow down what people think is a speedway going on a Bath Street a little bit.
It's funny, I've always thought it made people speed up. But the third thing is, and I'm just not keeping up with the Joneses at all, but for the 250th celebration next year, we are in discussion with Mount Vernon for a 250-year-old cherry jar to be on display. However, we have to fill out a 30-page document and prove that we can put it under lock and key at night. So you got off easy.
Well, listen, I went to the best. I went to Charlene and Danielle, basically did, and they've been nothing but awesome to help us out with that. Gina, go ahead.
Gina Morosi, 10 Old Glory Lane again. So, sit here and I listened about the Peach Festival and how fabulous it was. Events for the Arts Committee, great. Anything else that the SBPA does or any other committee in the town, fabulous. The task force. Well, you can better spend taxpayer dollars, even though we're not spending taxpayer dollars. And maybe it's great that you got the fireworks money, but maybe you should spend it on school supplies, which, trust me, we have plenty of school supplies and have never run out of school supplies to give out to the children. I'm just really concerned in why we're the only group that's questioned and attacked and told what to do and how to do it. And it's really getting pretty old. from people that don't even participate but seem to know more than we do about an event that we've been doing for several years.
This way.
Well, I couldn't help because that
I'm
head
aware,
was the
I
bobblehead
saw it
over
too,
there.
but why don't we just focus for the rest of your 3 minutes?
So I'm gonna tell the group what happened here tonight. We have a meeting coming about how we've been told how to do things and what to do. And I'm also gonna make it publicly known that there's certain people in this community that are just against everything that we do for this community. And when we do our events, they are for underprivileged children, period. And I will let it be known, it's old. Years of this is getting old.
Can I ask you a quick question?
You can ask me too.
Do you get your satisfaction out of seeing the children, seeing the response in the community and everything else?
At the end of that night, as exhausted as we are, I think Ray and Charlene can testify to this. Mary and Bernadette, you're there. Frank, you're there too. The answer is absolutely yes.
And to hell with the naysayers and stop worrying about every little squeak that comes out of their mouths, because you know as well as I do that that's the success. That's what you do it for, should do it for. If somebody wants to be a negative Nelly about it all the time, that's them. That's on them.
You're absolutely right, and that's why we forge ahead and we keep doing what we're doing and we try to make it better every year. Make every year better and better.
If I worried about every person that had something bad to say about me on social media or otherwise, I would be pretty much done with this job.
Well, you know what though, it's just obvious. It's become so freaking obvious what's going on here. So I'm gonna help them. I'm gonna magnify it and I'm gonna put it out there and let everybody know what's going on here.
Accentuate the positives, that's what I'm trying to say here. Go ahead, Mike.
In addition to what Gina's been saying, I wanted to add to Mary's report that because Mother Nature wouldn't cooperate this spring and we had our Hope for Children event got rained out, so we moved it to the rain date, and then guess what happened on the rain date? It got rained out, and we had rain for 19 weeks, it seemed, in the spring. So now we have combined the Hope for Children event with Family Fun Day. So all the people that were going to participate for that will be up at the fairgrounds, where we will also be giving out free wooden figures to paint for the kids to do their own figures. They'll come back to me, they'll go up on the fencing down at the playground, which I'm happy to announce has over 230 figures on it now. So that program that I was told the first year, oh, it's going to fall down, kids are going to die from getting their fingers stuck, and it's going to look horrible and that. Kids are so proud to see their painting of their figures up on that fence. And they're saying to me, when can we do it again? Does it have to wait until spring? So, you know, and talk about the negative Nellies, that was the negative Nellies, and we proved them wrong. We finally got the right paint. That was a big help, thank you, Chris. So that will be up there. Everything except for the bounce houses, and I don't think the fireworks is going to be undercover. I'm hoping that the fireworks aren't going to be undercover. The vendors, the games, the crafts, the Hope for Children, the food, everything is going to be undercover. I want to thank personally the folks at the fairgrounds because they have gone out of their way, and when we said, what can you give us, they said, what do you want? And we walked through it today. It was thrilling to walk through there and say, we got water everywhere, we got bathrooms, we got electric, we don't have to put up boundaries, we don't have to do this, we don't have to do that. We got vendor parking over by the horse arena. We got a parking lot the size of Kansas that we have now. We don't have to worry about where's anybody going to park. They're going to come in the main gate, and it's just going to be so easy for us and so much fun for the kids. And please, if you can volunteer an hour, come see us. If you can't do it until that day, stop by the information booth. I will be there with my event wife over there, Terry. I have 3 wives, by the way.
You have 15 seconds.
All right, I have Millie.
No.
I have Terry, and I have Donna Dederis, who is my Rotary wife. We just,
You're a lucky man.
I have a, what's it, a quadruple, not a thruple.
Time's up.
Thank you. Thank you to, they just started doing it.
Yeah.
I need another group to join.
Oh, gosh.
Jen, if you want to go back to the podium, we got somebody else.
Jan McCabe, 345 Lexington Street. And I just wanted to say, going back to the signs.
We're moving it.
Well, thank you. But what I'm saying is, maybe going forward in the future, when you're gonna put it in such a conspicuous spot on a homeowner's lot, like, let's give a notice. And thank you for what you're doing.
You're in a unique spot up there because we had no poles to put it on, like every other place. The only other place where we have to put a pole in the ground, I think, is at East High Street because where we want to put it, we don't have it, but that's going to be kind of in a bare lot zone. You were just kind of unfortunately the one, and I'm still working to figure out where, and I think both have to move because, like I said, that tree. Yeah, but that tree, I think, is actually causing an issue with the reading because there's an asymmetrical number of cars, but that happens, but like 10 versus 80 should not be happening.
I drove around and looked at where you put all the other ones. The other ones already had poles, so when they went on, they weren't in the direct line of sight of houses, they're in between houses, yes. Colonial Hills has no poles, so when you put two 10-foot poles with all the electronics, it just kind of sticks out there.
One of the reasons I suggested putting it high up is because you have a lot of kids in your neighborhood that I think when they don't want to play video games with those things, they might do something to start playing with them, and we want to try to get them out of reach because these are $2,750 devices, and so we want to make sure that they're not going to be broken or have to be an insurance claim for some reason. So that's why we did go tall on those, but we're working to figure out what to do with them. And like I said, we may flip out those for the non-data collectors because your neighbors had other concerns along the way on this. But hey, look, no regrets in certain aspects. We're all learning that perceptions exist, and it also allowed us to tell people we're trying to get it down to 25 in the village. We'll see what happens eventually, and we're not spending our own money really except for 10 grand to do it. So, you know, people didn't know about that.
Like you said about the speeds, when I was standing next to the one sign this morning, I went by 25 right next to me. That's fast, right? And people on the street are going to perceive a car doing 30 as, oh, they're speeding.
Yep.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Jim. Anybody else? Yes, John Crowe.
John Cromie, 132 Bath Street. You mentioned the zoning, and at some point there's going to be a vote of the board for the zoning. And being a lawyer, getting into some esoteric thinking, and I just thought I'd share that thinking. I mentioned it in print at one point. And this deals with the ethics law. As you know, if there's anything that comes before the board that affects any of the members financially or members of their family, you recuse yourself. That's the given. There's an exception to that, and that general exception is if you're dealing with a local, local law or any other decision which affects people generally.
Budgets, for instance.
There's no problem, even though what you're going to vote on is going to affect you and your family. And generally speaking, zoning laws are exactly that type of thing. Frank has a little interesting situation because there's one zone in our village zoning law currently, and it may be modified, may not be modified, or whatever, which is the owned by his family, or the interest owned by his family. So the question is this an exception to the exception? Is this something that really can cause an ethical problem? And I think it's a very difficult question to answer. And it's not necessarily something that our ethics board is able to handle. You go to, if you get an opinion, that exonerates the person who's voting. It doesn't say that the vote is valid. And I would suggest that that question be posed to the state constable's office. And that decision would then actually help guide the board as to whether or not it might be a problem. And like I say, it's an esoteric thinking, but I believe it's an issue that is open.
John, just as an FYI and full disclosure, the property is being worked to get subdivided, what's left to be developed on it at all. And Mark Katz is going to be moving forward with that to build the last 3 buildings that are supposed to be built for that. And in my notes, I think you saw these with respect to R2S zoning. The only notes I put down were essentially a summary of things that we've heard generally and said that the board's going to have to determine what to do with it. Because, for instance, Liz, I think it said outside of one of the old ZAC meetings that she thought it should be R2 there, for instance. I have no statement one way or the other on that, but I just want to call to the board's attention that there is an interesting discussion to be had. Go and have it, because I'm not having that discussion. I'm going to be voting for an entire zoning package, and that's just like with Mary with the police. She doesn't get involved with the police budget despite being married to the police chief. There's no secret about that, but she can still vote on the omnibus budget scenario in that situation.
That's a specific exception, the budget. But it just creates a question. I think the question ought to be answered, so there is just any uncertainty in the vote.
So if we're talking about that piece of the zoning, you would abstain or recuse yourself?
I will not participate in the discussion, then you're going to lay an omnibus zoning package here ultimately. Just like you own a house in a zone, so you're being affected by R1 essentially, I believe, up there, right?
Right,
and
but the difference is it's different to own a business and a rental property.
I would also assume that it is your most valuable asset that you possess, so it works both ways in that respect.
Well,
nobody's going to ask you to step out of it.
No, but that being a homeowner doesn't require recusal because we're all affected the same way as homeowners.
I'm not a homeowner.
But your family owns investment property that is making money, and so that's a different situation than your average homeowner. And so it's a question worth asking. But I'm glad you're saying that you will recuse yourself, I guess, from that part of the discussion if you're talking about that zoning.
You have my notes, and as I said, the only thing I said, called attention to was there was an interesting discussion, and again, for Liz to have said the R2 thing was an interesting thing to me. So I said, things to consider. There were comments about people hated the R2S idea as a separate thing for the parcel. It's more or less a PUDD in a village that didn't have a PUDD at the time.
But it
I take no position either way on it beyond saying I will tell you that it's likely going to be finished by somebody else at this point. There's no further development going on by my family or anybody else up there, and so what's going to be affected up there at that point in time?
But it's not a PDD, right?
It is shaped, this is Chris's own comments on this, it was shaped like a PDD in the way it was worded, the way it's inside code that way and everything else. Because remember, PDDs are code onto a piece of property. It really mirrored a PDD. Don't ask me how this even works. This is how many years ago? 14 years ago, 13 years ago, or even beyond that. The second part of it was 13 years ago, actually. But long story short is, it's there, it's too late to turn back on it, but now the question is what to do with it. Do you treat it like an R2 generally because it's proven itself as a multifamily property area, or do you keep it as R2S to finish out what you want to do there with respect to the code? I don't know. That's up to you guys. And I'm not going to be approving or disapproving zoning based on that. I'm going to be doing it based on all the zoning package that we've been all working on here for the last, years now. So, there you go.
Just ask the question now.
Carl, you're my expert.
The comptroller doesn't give opinions anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I've asked for opinions from the comptroller for other municipalities and they don't give opinions anymore. I'm happy to call my contact at the comptroller's office if that's what you like, but I can also put together a memo for the care board on that if they'd like as well.
Karen, did you have your hand up or no?
No.
Okay. Right, running joke, she accidentally put it up on the last meeting.
Right, Jared has his hand up.
Jared, go ahead.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Jared Icolucci, 24 Chapman Street. I'm pleased to see that the zoning code is going through additional diligence. I know that I and several others who've been spending time with the zoning code continue to see issues that we had pointed out and the public had pointed out quite a while ago at the public workshop. One example in particular is that in R1 districts currently, you're allowed to build accessory units taller than homes. It's unclear exactly how that has persisted. A 40-foot height limit for accessory buildings is still included, while it's 36 for a main structure. So I really encourage the board to ensure that they're doing their diligence when it comes to the detailed matters like that as well. The second piece I just want to, I'm disappointed to see that the board did not move forward adopting the resolution that was put forward and attached in the minutes. Uh, it's somewhat shocking to me that we're a year removed from a significant ruling in the international court that noted a plausible genocide occurring in Gaza. This board was asked following that ruling to adopt a resolution then and declined. And now, over a year later, after another $10 billion of American taxpayer dollars have gone to supporting these atrocities, we've neutered the resolution so much that we can't even address the areas by name. I appreciate the courage of Trustee Baskin for putting forth that resolution, and again, disappointed in the board majority. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Kristen Nicolucci, 24 Chapman Street. Just to clarify, I want my tax dollars to go to helping people, not bombing and intentionally starving people. I know Gina left, so I apologize, I'm not supposed to, I'm addressing the board. Our taxes here do go to supporting, to feed hungry people in our community. And I think that's right. $400 for the pool, $5,000 fireworks, school supplies, great. That's what I want to see my taxpayers go to. I think why this issue needs us to speak up and not shut up is that our taxes are going to prevent food from feeding hungry people in Gaza, prevent medical aid from going to babies that do have pre-existing conditions that are additionally being starved, and prevented their medical necessities from going through. And I think that's why we have to speak out and do more. We have a responsibility to petition our elected officials. I'm glad to see some action from our elected officials here. I would look to see that resolution, I guess, be published on the website so that we individually can send it to our elected officials, that's my understanding. But regardless, thank you for at least taking some action and hearing out all of the different perspectives here in the community. As a mom, I think every child is my child, and it strickens me to think that we can have sympathy for some children and not for other children. That we can have sympathy for the children that were targeted in Israel, that were targeted in that awful attack, as you shared, but we can also just turn a blind eye to the children that are intentionally being starved in Gaza. So I just want to read a firsthand account from an American pediatric doctor and board member of Doctors Without Borders USA that was posted today, to offer another perspective of firsthand account. When I entered Gaza, the Israeli military had a rule. I was only allowed to bring in 7 pounds of food. As I was weighing out protein bars, trying to get under the limit, I said to my husband, how sinister is this? I'm a humanitarian aid worker. Why would there be a limit on food? I worked in many places with extreme hunger, but what's so jarring in this context is how cruel it is, how deliberate. I was in Gaza for 2 months. There's no way to describe the horror of what's happening. And I say this as a pediatric ICU doctor who sees children die as part of my work. Among our own staff, we have doctors and nurses who are trying to treat patients while hungry, exhausted. They're living intense. Some of them have lost 15, 20 members of their families. In the hospitals, there are kids maimed by airstrikes, missing arms, missing legs, third-degree burns. Often there's not enough pain medication, but the children are not screaming about the pain. They're screaming, I'm hungry, I'm hungry. I hate to only focus on the kids because nobody should be starving. But the kids, it haunts you in a different way. When my 2 months were finished, I didn't want to leave. It's a feeling I haven't experienced in my 20 years of humanitarian assignments. But I felt ashamed to be
as an American, as a human being, that we're unable to stop something that is so clearly a genocide. I want my tax dollars to go to helping people, not a genocidal regime. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Chris? Just as a note, we are in overtime, as they call it. We're past the 2-hour mark. We'll still do board response quickly. I'll go around the board. So think about if you want to say something very briefly, because technically we'll be out of time for our part of it. We have about 8 minutes left in this portion. Go ahead.
All right. Chris Fuchs is Scaling Drive. I want to be doing my due diligence as a father if I didn't first say I'm proud of my son and coming up in a passionate environment, speaking, and I'm going to be doing it well if I wasn't embarrassed publicly by also letting him know I'm proud of him. One thing, you'd think he'd be asking, when's the meeting done? I want to get to my video game or my TV. No, instead he's saying, I've got sourdough bread at home that needs to be fed. So he's keeping his eye on the bread, let's just put it that way. It reminded me of when he was only 8 days old. It was Rabbi Linda and Jonathan of Temple Sinai had a wonderful, wonderful program. It was called the Bread and Torah, and it's still around. They retired in 2023. It's breadandtorah.org. I recommend you definitely look into it. They still have the Slice of Heaven breads that they're operating out of Temple Sinai Kitchen. It's a volunteer enterprise. It's continued since their retirement. They produce and sell a variety of breads and baked goods with proceeds preceding hunger relief programs, Temple Sinai's programs, and other charitable causes. They also used to have people criticize them over their money went to at times. I brought up an organization, Hope 7 down in Troy, that serves the marginalized community down there, and they took even out their own personal pocket, so it wouldn't even come out of the Temple's funds. Wonderful group, wonderful organization, and since they have retired, my son has now been studying with the Rubens. You probably have seen Abba Rubin or Yosef Rubin. They're usually here during the lighting of the menorah. If you're interested in trying to take care of the hungry, especially locally, Abba Rubin is really working hard to try to put together something to serve both the Saratoga community and the Clifton Park community. Opposite where his brother's at, we're right in between. So I'm really working hard with him to maybe eventually, he doesn't know this yet, but I'm working to try to maybe build something locally. Wouldn't cost much at all. I have to put a proposal together, and I'll be more than happy to let this board know about it. LifeWorks is wonderful. I know Nightworks donates a lot of their leftover bread to them. Unfortunately, there's just a lot of people who aren't aware of LifeWorks, or due to pride or whatever reason, don't go down there and take advantage of these programs. So we're trying to hopefully put something together that brings it to people to where they're at, on the street in their homes. So stay tuned. I'll hopefully have some more information on that, because again, I believe in solutions. So I welcome any ideas any of you have to provide towards that. We'd love to see that hopefully up and running soon. As soon as I let him know about it, that I've sort of thrown him out there and volatile. But other than that, though, thank you for everything this board has done. Again, you've got your future here, back there, watching from home. And again, it's good to see one kept civil and kept not going past midnight. Thank you.
That's the same rabbi that does the Hanukkah festival with us?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great guy. Thank you. Anybody else in the room? Seeing none, let's go quickly. Sean, I'll start with you for any board response, including all that stuff.
Really all I have is, Ray, I love your shirt.
Anything special?
For people that can't see it, it's
Jimi Hendrix?
Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, come here where I'm sitting, basically. Just turn around to the camera right there.
I don't know that we.
I got you.
Show it now.
Jimi Hendrix is dead, but his legs work better than mine. There we go, Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, should be against your side too.
There you go. Okay, Ben, go ahead.
I'm good.
Mary?
Good. Two things, I'm sorry. I forgot, the parking for our market vendors, people have not been great about heeding to those signs. Jen is working on getting some more signage up, but please let folks know, please don't park there when we have market days. It really kind of makes it very difficult for our vendors. And the other thing is, I emailed, and I don't know if somebody knows about this, the rule signs for the park are they going up anytime soon? Because people are smoking and not heeding to our rules because they're not posted, so.
Jen, do you have those in production, or have they?
I have to, but I'll check out the arrival of the.
Okay, so we're working on it.
Okay, that's it.
The smoking signs, I think you must have, right, because we got them.
Some of those are up,
months ago.
I think, actually, yes.
Yeah, I've seen some of them. Is there one at Wiswall already?
Wiswall probably not, because we didn't put any, excuse me, signage back up, once we redid the park, yeah,
Oh,
so.
right, okay. So, yeah, but they do exist for free, as you know, from
Yep.
the state program.
Okay, I'm about to cough for some reason, so that's a great time to say, can I get a motion that the vouchers be audited and the meeting adjourned at 9:27 PM?
Make a motion?
Trustee Baskin, second. Trustee Raymond, discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Everybody have a good night and see you in 2 weeks.
You two were in sync a lot today. It was like, go meet
I know, it's not fair. Give my dog a minute. Give my dog a minute.
The wildfire?
Yes. No, I can't, pardon?
I think I just have to write up the contract and then we all decide.
Yeah, I think that's it. I'll try to, yeah, I just got a chair into me. The other thing is, are you getting emails from the county?
Yes.
Okay.
And I would participate, and they're all very expensive, and I don't have that kind of cash.
Yeah. All right, so all I have to do
Yes,
is,
I finally am.
I have to just sign the paper, right? So we're talking about the money that the village is giving the museum.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And the other question was to actually have the county Democratic committee.
Yeah, that-
And I am getting them, and they're all fundraisers, and I can't afford to.
Yeah, well, right now, that's because of the cycle, but you're on the list. Yeah. Okay, I'll try to get in tomorrow morning, okay?